Mastermind 1. In this world, the only thing that could destroy a combined attack from 3 demon emperors was a Shura. Moon goddess White Snow, who had completely despaired, heard an explosion, but she did not feel any darkness power hitting her. She opened her eyes, and after seeing the figure standing in front of her, she cried out with joy and surprise, "Ling Chen!" Behind her, the Forgotten City had been greatly damaged, but due to White Eagle and Black Demon's protection, the Forgotten Emperor was safe. Seeing Moon Goddess White Snow easily defeat the 3 ancient demon beasts, he had thought that the crisis was over. However, when the 3 demon emperors appeared and Moon Goddess White Snow had been badly injured, he had completely despaired and fell to the ground. Even a Moon Goddess, who represented the peak of the mystic moon world, had been defeated. Anyone who saw this would feel all of their hopes crumble. Indeed, even a Moon Goddess had been defeated. What could stop this nightmarish catastrophe? The Forgotten Emperor crumpled to the ground, his eyes dim, preparing for destruction. Even though Ling Chen had appeared, the Forgotten Emperor did not feel any hope at all. Ling Chen was powerful to the point that the Forgotten City had trembled in front of him. But no matter how powerful he was, he could not be more powerful than a Moon Goddess. If even a Moon Goddess had been defeated, what could he do? "Go to somewhere safe and leave the demon emperors to me." Ling Chen stretched out his hand and helped White Snow up, his aura locking on to the 3 demon emperors and 11 ancient demon beasts. As a high and mighty Moon Goddess, who had always controlled everything and looked down on all beings, when had she ever needed to be saved or protected? What's more, even if she did, no one would be able to do so. In that instant, White Snow experienced for the first time a womanly sense of weakness and dependence, as well as a sense of warmth and satisfaction. Her gaze trembled, and she lightly nodded. "These 3 demon emperors aren't any weaker than the demon emperor from 10,000 years ago. You need to be careful." The 3 moon goddesses had fought with Ling Chen before, so they knew his strength. Moon Goddess White Snow knew that perhaps the only person who could resolve this crisis was him. As such, even though she was worried, she did not stop him. She gently gazed at Ling Chen before floating up and retreating. The 3 demon emperors came within 100 meters of Ling Chen, and their bodies suddenly flashed with a dark light, causing the surrounding air to seem to freeze from their power. The 11 ancient demon beasts also rushed up as they unpleasantly howled. Ling Chen's eyes narrowed, and he flicked his right wrist as a light shone from the lunar scourge. "Moon Grief!" As the dark silver light flooded out, the dark light around the 3 demon emperors' bodies disappeared, and the ancient demon beasts, who were just about to attack, all paused with confused looks on their faces. Regardless of whether they were ancient demon beasts or demon emperors, in front of Moon Grief, they became absolute noobs, and they could not use any of their skills. Ling Chen cast aside any hesitation and appeared before the 3 dumbfounded demon emperors, sending out a shattered moon and extinguishing the heavens and destroying the earth tempest towards them. A massive explosion sounded out in front of the Forgotten City, just like the one that had erupted in front of Ling Tian's city. In the 5,000 meters in front of Ling Chen, apart from the demon emperors, all demon beasts, including the 11 ancient demon beasts, were obliterated without even their corpses remaining. The 3 demon emperors suffered heavy damage, and their HP greatly fell. Seeing the demon beast army and ancient demon beasts disappear without a trace, the Forgotten Emperor, White Eagle, and Black Demon stared with bulging eyes. They then simultaneously performed the same action. They brought their hands up and vigorously rubbed their eyes. Full-strength demon emperors were nothing in front of Ling Chen, and this was even more so for demon emperors who had forgotten their skills. Ling Chen rushed up, and he dealt more than 20 rounds of Shura's exterminating slashes in less than 10 seconds, blasting the 3 demon emperors from above the Forgotten City to many kilometers away. During this entire process, let alone retaliate, the demon emperors had not even been able to stand properly. Following this, Ling Chen simultaneously activated Sacrificial Slaughter and Soul Demise, clearing out the 3 demon emperors' HP bars. The 3 demon emperors had appeared at the same time and had also died at the same time. Under Ling Chen's Sacrificial Slaughter, they were reduced into countless fragments and turned into balls of black fog as they disappeared. Seeing the 3 demon emperors die so easily, Moon Goddess White Snow stared for a while. She had personally experienced the Shura's might before, but even the Shura from 10,000 years ago, which had given them a tough battle, definitely could not do such a thing. Back then, the 3 moon goddesses had thought that the Shura from back then was the most powerful creature, but even though the Shura in front of her did not give off the same bloodlust and berserkness, he was much, much stronger than the Shura from before. The Forgotten Emperor, White Eagle, and Black Demon were peak existences among humans, and they felt absolutely petrified. Their eyes felt like they were going to fall out. After a while, the Forgotten Emperor reacted as if he had woken up from a dream, and he shrieked, "Ling! Ling Tian! Please save our forgotten city! Our forgotten city will forever submit to Ling Tian City! Please save the forgotten city!" Even the monstrous enemies that a moon goddess could not resist had been easily defeated by Ling Chen. The Forgotten Emperor, who had fallen into complete despair, now saw Ling Chen as the Forgotten City's last hope, and he even knelt down to him. Ling Chen completely ignored him and rose into the air, looking towards the Forgotten City. In just a few seconds, he had seen the entire situation in the Forgotten City. After he had arrived, the crisis outside the Forgotten City had been resolved, but there was still a crisis within the city. Many demon beasts still ran rampant within the city, causing disasters. Looking at the Forgotten City and locking on to all of the demon beasts, Ling Chen spread out his hands as the flames from the fire god's bulwark started to gather around his body. "Phoenix God Heavenly Flames!" A berserk wind blew, and it started to become hotter. The flames around Ling Chen grew, dyeing the sky above the Forgotten City red. As the searing wind blew around Ling Chen, countless fireballs rained down from the sky towards the Forgotten City, then accurately landed on demon beasts, not affecting the Forgotten City's structures or residents in the slightest. Ling Chen had exhausted all of the energy from the Thunder God's bulwark in Ling Tian City, but he still had the Fire God's bulwark. What's more, the fire within the Fire God's bulwark was not normal fire, but the terrifying Phoenix God Heavenly Flames. In just an instant, the Forgotten City became lit up with fiery light, and it was filled with howls from countless demon beasts. Fire was a natural counter to demon beasts, and this was even more so due to the fact that it was one of the most powerful types of fire. As the flames touched the demon beasts, they were incinerated in an instant, and even high-grade, high-level demon beasts were insta-killed. However, after the Phoenix God Heavenly Flames touched them, they did not immediately extinguish. They continuously burned the demon beasts' bodies and souls, causing their lives to flow away in pain and despair. Compared to the tribulation lightning, the Phoenix God Heavenly Flames were much crueler. When the flames covered the entire city, the Forgotten Emperor had initially been terrified. However, he soon heard the howls of countless demon beasts, and he did not receive any news about residents or structures being destroyed, allowing him to let out a sigh of relief as he sat there, feeling paralyzed. He looked up at Ling Chen in the air, feeling incredibly complicated. He realized more and more just how stupid of him it had been to attack Ling Tian City. Ling Tian, ancient demon beasts and demon emperors have also appeared near the 4 main cities. Purple Dress, Blue Heart, and the Moon God representatives are unable to stop them at all, so please go to help them. Since there are no demon emperors here anymore, I'll be able to deal with this situation. White Snow said hurriedly, as she came to Ling Chen's side. Looking at the flames and the forgotten city, which was no longer in danger, Ling Chen nodded and took out a spatial orb, arriving at the Azure Dragon City. Compared to the forgotten city, the Azure Dragon City's defenses were weaker by nearly 10 times, and the situation within it was much worse than the one that had been in the forgotten city. When Ling Chen arrived, Moon Goddess Purple Dress was currently facing off against 3 demon emperors. Within the 3 moon goddesses, White Snow was overall the most powerful, but in terms of attack power, Purple Dress held the advantage. However, no matter how strong she was, she could not defeat 3 demon emperors. She used time and spatial power to desperately fight, not allowing the 3 demon emperors to come close to the Azure Dragon City. However, she was covered with countless injuries, and she had used up much of her strength. Behind her, due to the shockwaves from their battle, nearly 20% of the Azure Dragon City had been destroyed. The crisis was naturally resolved after Ling Chen arrived. The 3 demon emperors, who had been coming closer and closer to the Azure Dragon City, were beaten like dogs by Ling Chen. Afterwards, he froze them with a moon shadow before smashing them into dust, and all the demon beasts and ancient demon beasts within Ling Chen's field of vision were annihilated immediately after. The Azure Dragon's mayor, as well as the city guards who had despaired, felt as if they had turned to stone, unable to accept what had just happened. After asking Qi Yue to use her nature songs to heal Purple Dress, Ling Chen immediately went to the Black Tortoise City and saved Blue Heart, who was fighting against 2 demon emperors, and then went to the Vermilion Bird City and the White Tiger City. The demon emperors were undoubtedly the greatest threats, and without the demon emperors, no matter how many demon beasts or ancient demon beasts there were, the Moon God clan was powerful enough to suppress them and resolve the crisis. Ling Chen quickly cleared the demon emperors in and around the royal city and 4 main cities, but apart from these places, the massive forgotten continent still contained many demonic beasts. Ling Chen returned to Ling Tian City and used Ling Tian City to request players and residents of the forgotten continent to report sightings of demon emperors and ancient demon beasts. Wherever one was found, Ling Chen went there with the help of Fei's spatial power and quickly killed them. As demon emperors and ancient demon beasts were continuously killed, Ling Chen and Fei felt more and more shocked. From when the demon beasts had descended until now, only 3 hours had passed, and the numbers of the demon beasts gradually decreased. As demon emperors and ancient demon beasts were discovered, Ling Chen quickly moved to destroy them, and within the 3 hours, Ling Chen had killed 57 demon emperors and 732 ancient demon beasts. It took thousands of years for a Saint Destroyer-grade existence to be born, and for existences like moon goddesses that surpassed the Saint Destroyer grade, it took over 10,000 years. In light of this, the number of the demon emperors and ancient demon beasts was simply terrifying to the point of being indescribable. In the end, Ling Chen's heart even started to lightly tremble. If it was just as Qi Yue had said, that these demon emperors, ancient demon beasts, and demon beasts had been cloned, with how powerful the demon emperors were, cloning even a single one was an extremely heaven-defying act. After all, demon emperors were like terrifying weapons of mass destruction. However, there were 57 demon emperors, and there might even be even more. Just what sort of person had the ability to do such a thing? And why would they do this to the Forgotten Continent? If it wasn't for Ling Chen, the entire Forgotten Continent, if not the entire Mystic Moon world, could have been destroyed. Mastermind 2, compared to the disaster caused by the Demon Beast clan 10,000 years ago, this one was much bigger, and it simply exceeded what anyone could even imagine. The last disaster took many years to fully settle, but this time, it took only half a day for the situation to be resolved. This was because the demon beasts would hide back then and only move out at night, making it difficult to destroy them. However, these demon beasts had no consciousness, and they only knew to destroy. Even though they were fierce fighters, they were destroyed incredibly quickly. Of course, this was not the main reason. The main reason was because back then, the Forgotten Continent did not have players. Even though there were many demon beasts, they did not spawn endlessly, and the numbers could not exceed the players, as there were hundreds of millions of players in the Forgotten Continent. Even though normal players were not a match for even the low-grade demons, there were many of them, and they all specialized in different classes. What was even more important was that players could continuously revive. As such, even though more players died than demon beasts, their numbers continuously decreased, while players' numbers did not decrease at all. The job of killing the more powerful demon beasts naturally fell to the more powerful players, but most low-grade demon beasts were suppressed and destroyed by groups of players. Even though the disaster was not over, it was now controllable. After this disaster, the Forgotten Continent's residents started to recognize the strength of the so-called weakest group of people. This was because anyone could understand that the Forgotten Continent might have been completely destroyed by the demon beasts without players. This was especially so for the player who had saved the royal city and the 4 main cities and had surpassed even the moon goddesses, Ling Chen. That's right, if it wasn't for Ling Chen, the Forgotten Continent would have been greatly ravaged by this massive disaster. Countless residents and other creatures had died, and the towns and villages that had been destroyed were too many to count. The number of player deaths was also an astronomical figure. There were many players who had died even 3 to 5 times, greatly reducing the Chinese players' overall strength. After this disaster, a haze passed over the Forgotten Continent. One of their greatest consolations was that the royal city and the 4 main cities had not been destroyed. Ling Chen City was the place that Ling Chen protected the most, and adding on the underworld's protection and the underworld god cannon, apart from the damage that had been initially caused, not even a brick had been damaged afterwards. 8 p.m. in the real world, within the bright but deathly silent Cosmos Corporation. The tightly closed door at the top floor slowly opened, revealing a short, skinny, and hunchbacked figure. He walked unhurriedly with his hands behind his back, and as he entered, the top floor was filled with a terrifying aura. There were only 2 people on the top floor. They were staring at the massive screen on the wall, their hands mechanically typing on the keyboards in front of them, ignoring the door that had opened and the figure that had walked in. Their eyes sunken and were a dark color, and it was as if they were a deathly gray, making them look as if they were corpses. This is such a wonderful day for that place called the Forgotten Continent. Release all of the diseases. This is simply too crazy. Only a madman like me would do such a thing, hee-hee. The hunchbacked old man gave an extremely ear-piercing laugh, sounding like the laughter of a demon. He slowly walked over to a large screen and pushed up his white-framed glasses as he stared with his snake-like eyes. Hee-hee, these diseases are enough to destroy the entire Mystic Moon world in a month. Even though I've put them all in the Forgotten Continent, they should be able to destroy more than half of the living creatures there within 12 hours. There'll be mountains of corpses, and ruins will fill the lands. What a beautiful scene, hee-hee. Since you dared to destroy the perfect balance that I created, this is your reward, hee-hee. However, now it's time to put these cute diseases away, because if the Chinese players are scared too much, they won't dare to enter the beautiful Mystic Moon anymore. If that happens, there will be fewer howling spirits in the main act, hee-hee. Paw! A withered hand slapped onto a red button as the picture on the screen quickly changed, revealing a crescent moon in the middle of a patch of blue. This was a map of the Mystic Moon world. The map zoomed in and locked onto the Forgotten Continent, filling the entire screen. The Forgotten Continent was a faint yellow color with some strange dark spots. Some dark spots were darker, while others were lighter. Some were larger and some were smaller, but they were very dense. The big and darker spots were the rarest, and the two biggest dark spots were in the north and west. The hunchbacked old man's ear-piercing laughter suddenly stopped, and he held his breath as his expression twisted. His gaze also became incredibly vicious. What's going on? Just what happened? Why are there only this many of my cute diseases left, and there are only two of the biggest ones left? Just what's going on? These diseases were enough to destroy the mystic moon world and all of the highest grade beings. They can't be destroyed by a mere forgotten continent. What happened? Impossible. Impossible. Could it be that there were things outside of my control? Impossible. From the energy reactions, the creatures called moon goddesses are the most powerful beings, and there are only 5 beings on that level, while I developed 60 diseases on that level. How could they be defeated? Arg! He was a true genius, and in his life, nothing that he wanted could escape from his control. Even the vast mystic moon world was completely within his grasp, and he had even modified this world, without any of the mystic moon world's creatures noticing. He pursued absolute perfection, and he did not allow there to be anything that could escape from his control. The Forgotten Continent's players' average strength greatly exceeded the players from other regions, breaking the balance that he wanted, causing him to madly rain down the terrifying diseases to restore balance. However, what he saw was something that completely exceeded anything that he had expected. This was the first time that something had exceeded his expectations and control, making him go completely mad. As he screamed with his ear-piercing voice, the largest black dot in the north slowly disappeared. Arg! The hunchbacked old man's eyes widened as he stared at where the black dot had disappeared. Following this, he slowly raised a withered hand and stared at the final large black dot in the west as he said in a low and sinister voice, "They're being destroyed. Someone's destroying the diseases I've spent so much time and effort on developing. Heh, hee. They're actually making a madman like me so furious that I'm about to go mad. Heh, you should receive a brilliant prize. My brilliant, mad self will personally give this reward to you." Pa! The hunchbacked old man snapped his fingers as a black cabin door suddenly opened. The hunchbacked old man walked over into the cabin, after which the black cabin door closed. Right before it closed, a hellish voice sounded out. "I will personally shatter and destroy your body, soul, and the entire Forgotten Continent." Hey! Boom! Within a bloody light, a demon emperor was obliterated before it even had a chance to scream, and then it turned into a black fog and disappeared. The demon beasts around it were also destroyed by the shockwaves, not leaving a single one behind. Phew! Ling Chen, who had not spent much effort, canceled Burning Hard Blood Massacre and Heavenly Judgment Demonic Flames and said, "This should be the 59th, right?" "That's right." Faye nodded and looked up as she said leisurely, "This figure doesn't sound like much, but who would think that it was the number of demon emperors? Killing 59 powerful beings that are as powerful as my adoptive father, the Sea Emperor, in less than a day? My dear Adam, I'm sure that anyone in the Forgotten Continent who heard this would go mad. A Shura that does not fear tribulation lightning is simply heaven-defying to the extreme. Luckily, you didn't lose your consciousness, or I believe that the Forgotten Continent would have long since stopped existing." Ling Chen smirked, not confirming nor denying this. He knew best that he was only able to kill the Demon Emperor like he was killing chickens, because of the Lunar Scourge's crowd control and the Shura's ridiculously powerful attacks. This was what allowed Ling Chen to kill the Demon Emperors before they even had an opportunity to attack. Even though he had killed 59 Demon Emperors, he had not even seen the Demon Emperor's true strength. If Ling Chen did not have the Lunar Scourge, the Aries Orb, the Libra Orb, the Lunar Scourge Divine Spear, the Lunar Scourge Divine Armor, and the various crowd control skills, and he had to fight the Demon Emperor with only the Shura's power, he wouldn't have had any confidence at all. Ding! Fei's communication device sounded out, and she immediately picked it up. After listening for a few moments, she gave a simple answer before hanging up and saying, "Unfortunately, another Demon Emperor has been found in the western area of the Forgotten Continent, about 120 kilometers southwest from the White Tiger City. We've neared the end, and this might be the last one." "All right, take me there," Ling Chen immediately said. Honestly speaking, he had become somewhat addicted to killing demon emperors, obliterating beings that were on the level of moon goddesses before they could even respond felt quite satisfying. "Let's go! I'll say it again, it's best that you close your eyes." Fei grabbed Ling Chen's right hand, and as Lachesis flashed with light, its spatial power activated. Whoosh! As the wind howled, the smell of the air greatly changed, and by the time Ling Chen opened his eyes, what he saw was overgrown wilderness and ravaged ground, of course, as well as a demon emperor and an army of demon beasts that it had attracted. The southwest was the most desolate region in the Forgotten Continent, and it consisted mostly of deserts and overgrown wildernesses. There were no human settlements around, and even animals were quite rare. The demon emperor that had descended here could not find any creatures to destroy, and it had madly destroyed anything it could find. With the demon emperor's terrifying power, the surrounding 100 kilometers had been completely ravaged, and there was not even a single bit of untouched ground. Ling Chen and Fei's arrival caused the demon emperor to finally smell the scent of a living creature, and its massive power instantly locked onto Ling Chen and Fei. Though it didn't move, a wave of darkness energy seemed to cover the sun and sky, and it rushed towards Ling Chen and Fei. "End it quickly. We need to spend some time on finding out the origins of these demon beasts and the Mastermind," Fei said calmly, not even blinking as she faced the demon emperor's attack. Ling Chen simultaneously activated Burning Heart Blood Massacre and Heavenly Judgment Demonic Flames, again, and without needing to attack, just the Shura's aura alone was enough to dispel the demon emperor's darkness attack. "Purgatory Blades!" Blood-red blades condensed from the Shura's power rained down from the sky, mercilessly butchering and destroying all demon beasts within range, turning the area that they covered into a purgatory of destruction. Ling Chen rushed towards the demon emperor like a ray of light, Shura instant hellish annihilation, cutting off the attack that the demon emperor was about to release, causing it to howl in pain. Following this, Ling Chen activated Moon Shadow, freezing the struggling demon emperor in the air as he mercilessly rained down attacks on it, causing its HP to quickly fall. Bang! As the bloody light around Ling Chen exploded, just like the previous 59 demon emperors, the demon emperor in front of him was also obliterated into tiny pieces and turned into black fog. The demon beast army was also shredded by the purgatory blades, so that nothing remained. "Done!" Ling Chen's body flashed and returned to Fei's side, putting away his weapons as he said with a displeased look, "It's a pity that even the demon emperors don't drop a single thing and don't even give EXP. Otherwise, after killing so many Saint Destroyer grade beings, I would have leveled up to LV 100 by now. Evidently, those demon beasts aren't normal demon beasts that belong to this continent, so naturally, they won't give any EXP or spoils," Fei said. She frowned as she caressed her long and sleek fingers against the Lachesis rings. "But I'm sure that we'll be able to find the source of these demon beasts and the mastermind behind all of this soon." Noticing Fei's actions, Ling Chen raised his eyebrows and said in surprise, "You mean the Lachesis can do such a thing?" "The Lachesis has 3 rings. One controls space, one controls time, and the other one—" Fei suddenly paused, her expression becoming stiff. At the same time, Ling Chen's expression also changed, and soon, both of their expressions became horrified. Fei, do you feel that? This sensation is... Ling Chen grabbed Fei's shoulder. Even with his strong mental state to Shura's power, his voice still lightly trembled. His trembling gaze evidently contained a hint of terror. Fei also grabbed onto Ling Chen, because that was the only way to feel safe. I won't forget this feeling, even if I die. Both of them deeply frowned, their bodies tense as their gazes became incredibly dark. This was the state that they revealed when feeling extreme danger. Since you detected it too, that means it wasn't a misperception. No one can imitate the aura that can cause our entire bodies to tremble. They could feel Ling Chen's body trembling, as did her own. Indeed, they were afraid, well and truly afraid. Whether it was in the real world or in the virtual world, both of them were incredibly powerful and invincible existences. And yet, they were both feeling immense fear. In this world, was there anyone who could make Ling Chen and Fei feel fearful just from detecting their aura? Indeed, there was. But this person was not the powerful instructor Hell, but another person. This person did not have Hell's incredible power. Rather, he did not have the strength to truss up a chicken, but his absurd mental prowess controlled their fates, changed their lives, and gave them powerful bodies and strength, as well as pain that was worse than Hell by a factor of 100. He did not know any martial arts, but he controlled, calculated, and grasped everything. In Ling Chen and Fei's subconscious, they believed that he was an all-powerful monster. There was nothing that he could not achieve, and no one that he could not control. In fact, he most likely had the power to destroy the entire earth. The trauma that he left on them was deeply embedded in the deepest part of their souls. They felt an icy chill pass through their hearts just thinking about this person. Even though so many years had passed, this person's existence was like a poisonous needle stabbing into their hearts. Perhaps only if this person disappeared from the world could they completely be at ease. However, with his terrifying intellect and methods, who in the world could cause him to disappear? At this moment, in this virtual world, they had clearly detected that person's aura, and he was incredibly close, as if he was right behind them. Adam. Eve, it's you. Heh, hey, it's actually you. A piercing and extremely unpleasant voice sounded out from behind Ling Chen and Fei. When this voice traveled into their ears, their pupils simultaneously contracted. Fei's hand held onto Ling Chen even tighter, her sharp nails piercing into Ling Chen's arm. They had not seen the owner of this voice for 10 years, but even if they died, they would never forget this nightmarish voice. Ling Chen held onto Fei's shoulder and slowly turned around. Without them realizing it, a short and skinny hunchbacked old man wearing a white Chinese-styled garment and white-framed glasses had appeared behind them. His hair was white and his body was hunched over, and he was only about half as tall as Ling Chen. He looked at least 90 years old, and his face was even uglier and more withered than bark of a tree that had been dead for more than 10 years. However, the eyes behind the white-framed glasses were not turbid at all, and they instead gave off a sinister and venomous light. Mad! Scientist! Ling Chen and Fei cried out the old, hunchback man's name, their hearts uncontrollably trembling. He stood there, looking as if a strong gale could blow him over, but Ling Chen and Fei froze, not daring to move. They knew that he was even more terrifying than 100 demon emperors. No! He was even more terrifying than even 100 instructor hells. Hey! The mad scientist walked with his hands behind his back, giving a sinister and eerie laugh. To Ling Chen, his laugh was even more unpleasant than a demon's laugh by 100 times. This is an incredibly wonderful chance encounter. It must be something arranged by the heavens. From when I sent you from heaven to hell, it has already been 10 years. 10 years, what a wonderful period of time. Both of you are my proudest creations, and not only are you still alive, but you've also grown into adults and have appeared before me together. Ling Chen took a step forwards, standing in front of Fei as he coldly said, "After 10 years, you're still alive. Ahee!" The mad scientist wildly laughed and said condescendingly, "Even if everyone on Earth died, I would not die." Heh? The mad scientist suddenly gave a frightening smile as he adjusted his glasses, his eyes narrowing into slits. "Adam, 9 months ago, Instructor Hell went to China to find you after he was perfected by me. Afterwards, I detected that he had been destroyed, so it was like this. No wonder you were able to destroy Hell, who was modified by me. You broke free from my mental restrictions, as expected from my proudest creation, Hei." Ling Chen. Back then, when Hell had found him, he had not broken free from the mad scientist's mental restrictions. Rather, he had been injured by Hell to the point that he had been on his last breath, and even now he did not know how Hell had died. He only faintly felt that he had used some sort of special method to kill him, as his consciousness was disappearing. If Hell's dead, then he's dead. He was only an experimental subject. I can modify as many creatures as I want. You two are my successful experiments, and I've spent many years to completely modify your bodies and minds. Honestly speaking, I'm quite reluctant to destroy you. That's why I didn't search for you over the past 10 years. I decided to find you two after I completed the Great Mystic Moon plan, allowing you to be two great killing machines that would destroy all life on Earth. But because of fate's plans, I had to bring this time forwards because you destroyed my cute diseases that I spent so much time and effort developing." The mad scientist's face twisted. He was furious not because his diseases had been destroyed, but because with his methods, he would be able to recreate them with enough time. What made him furious was that this was completely outside of his plans, resulting in failure and humiliation. No one had ever caused his plans to fail in such a way. This was something that he could not tolerate. "Even if you two are my most successful creations, I need to give you a punishment that you'll never forget. Wait, no! A reward? No matter what it is, my reward should fill you with incredible honor and glory." Diseases? Ling Chen stared in confusion before suddenly realizing something and saying, "Could the demon beasts that invaded the Forgotten Continent have come from you?" After saying these words, Ling Chen did not feel shocked at all, because with how terrifying the mad scientist was, no matter how impossible something sounded, it would be something incredibly casual and normal if it was him. "That's right," the mad scientist savagely laughed. "After the Mystic Moon plan is finished, the Earth and Mystic Moon will both be destroyed. The two of you are the tools I prepared to destroy the world, while those cute diseases are what I was planning on using to destroy the Mystic Moon world. I brought them here ahead of plan because this continent's lowly creatures have broken the perfect balance that I designed. This is an unforgivable crime. I never thought that the ones who were killing these cute diseases were you. Adam and Eve." Ling Chen and Fei looked at each other, filled with shock. Mystic Moon plan? The Earth? Mystic Moon. Destroy the Earth and Mystic Moon. Those few words deeply stirred up their nerves. If anyone else had said the crazy words destroy the Earth, they would be taken as a joke or be seen as crazy. However, hearing this from the mad scientist, Ling Chen and Fei did not find those words to be amusing at all, and they instead felt a deep fear. "Mad scientist, what are you saying? Destroy the Earth? Mystic Moon plan? What perfect balance? And how did you bring those demon beasts here?" Ling Chen roared in a low voice. He had to receive an answer for these questions. Otherwise, even if he escaped from this terrifying madman today, he would not be able to be at ease. However, in his heart, he already knew that the answer would be terrifying. Mastermind 4. Do you want to know how and why? HM? Hey. The mad scientist raised his hands as he laughed wildly. Because I modified this world, so I can be said to be this world's owner. I can do whatever I want in this world. So what if I spread some cute diseases? What did you say? Ling Chen's eyes widened, and Fei's expression also changed. Taking into account their experiences in the Mystic Moon world, they could both guess what he meant. I might as well tell you my greatest and maddest plan, because you're about to become my killing machines. After all, I should let my successful experiments know how great their master is. The mad scientist's laughter became wilder and more arrogant as he spoke in his extremely unpleasant voice. There used to be a planet called Mystic Moon here, and I discovered this place before I went to Earth. This caused Ling Chen and Fei's hearts to tremble. Before he went to Earth? The mad scientist's words implied that he was not human. However, Ling Chen and Fei did not feel surprised about this. This was because in their 3 years in heaven, the mad scientist did not only display terrifying intellect and methods, but he also had technology that surpassed Earth's technology by countless years. Moreover, whenever he referred to Earthlings, he was always quite dismissive, calling them lowly Earthlings. From the beginning, Fei and Ling Chen suspected that the mad scientist was an alien, because such a monster simply couldn't have come from Earth. His words were evidence that Mystic Moon was a real world. This was because the mad scientist was incomparably intelligent and arrogant. He never allowed failure, nor did he ever lie. Even though he was incomparably terrifying, no matter what sort of crazy things he said, though Ling Chen and Fei felt shocked, they would never doubt what he said. This is a truly amazing world. It has a clean and pure nature, as well as dense elemental essence. However, what I can't stand is that the technology here is so behind. Afterwards, I found a wonderful thing in this wonderful world. I was originally planning on going to Earth to carry out the Mystic Moon plan, but this thing gave me a glorious and crazy thought. Only a madman like me would have such a glorious idea. As such, I spent many years gathering that thing's power, and after adding my incomparable intellect and methods, I completely changed this world's rules. What the new rules were based off of was Earth's low-grade virtual games, making the rules of this world become like a virtual game. Levels and grades, records and descriptions of people and items, EXP and other rewards for killing creatures, modification of monsters and respawning of monsters, and data modification of many things. It was simply too perfect. What was even more perfect was that none of the creatures in this world noticed at all, and even after modifying their thoughts, so that they would welcome players and give out quests, they obediently complied. It's simply incomprehensibly perfect, no less than expected from a legendary, godly item and my genius intellect, Ling Chen and Fei fell silent. More accurately speaking, they were completely dumbfounded. Every sentence that the mad scientist said sounded like a fantasy, tearing at their cognition, making it difficult for them to believe what he was saying. What is the godly item that you use to change the rules of this world? Fei suddenly said, her voice somewhat hoarse. The name. It should be called the Lachesis, and it is a godly item that even the glorious king knows about. Ling Chen and Fei both felt greatly shocked. Godly items can only be used by people who they acknowledge as their master. However, in my hands, I can still use a godly item's power. After using it, I tossed it into this world's ocean, making it so that it can never resurface. In this world, there's another godly item called the Lunar Scourge, which I also found. However, its power was much more domineering than the Lachesis, and even my genius, mad self wasn't able to control it. If even I can't control it, there's no one in the world who can control it. At most, they'll become a puppet. When the mad scientist said the Lachesis and the Lunar Scourge's names, the psychological impact on Ling Chen and Fei were quite great. When the mad scientist appeared, Fei had tightly clenched her fists behind her back, making it so that the mad scientist could not see the Lacus's 3 rings. Right now, the right half of her body was behind Ling Chen, making it impossible for the mad scientist to see the Lacuses. The lunar scourge on Ling Chen's right wrist was hidden by the lunar scourge divine armor, so the mad scientist could not see it either. Otherwise, he would have been able to recognize the 2 items instantly. The Lacus's yellow ring controls time, the blue ring controls space, and the red ring controls and changes rules and order. Fei said in a voice that only Ling Chen could hear. Back when I found the Lacuses at the bottom of the ocean, its spatial energy and time energy had been greatly depleted, but it could still be used. However, the red ring's energy to change rules and order had been completely depleted, and even now, it has recovered less than 0.1%. As such, I've only been using the yellow and blue rings, and I never used the red ring. I was wondering why the red ring's energy had been completely depleted when I found it, so that's why. He was actually able to use the Lacus's power even though it did not recognizing him as its master. This is too terrifying. With the Lacus's red ring's power that can change rules and order, if there is enough energy, he can indeed change the mystic moon world as he wishes. Moreover, in the records in the West, the entire mystic moon world was created by the Lacus's power countless years ago. Ling Chen. After perfectly modifying this world, I naturally became this modified world's owner. If I want it, all rules and powers here will be ineffective against me. Moreover, I can control all powers I want to control in this world. The mad scientist's hand suddenly grabbed into the air, and the space where he had grabbed started to twist. While Ling Chen and Fei's bodies trembled, their eyes widening, because they suddenly felt that there was a 1,000-kilogram iron board weighing down on them, making it impossible for them to budge an inch. You? Spatial lock. Fei gritted her teeth as she said in a low voice. That's right, he. The mad scientist demonically laughed as he walked towards them. In this modified world, I'm an invincible god. The power that other people take a lifetime to develop and control can be controlled by me with just a slight thought. Moreover, this spatial lock is the most powerful spatial lock in this world. Even if you're powerful enough to destroy my cute diseases, it's impossible for you to escape from this spatial lock. Ling Chen's eyes widened, and he struggled against the space locking him down. With his domineering power, and while in his strongest state, he was able to easily break free from a spatial lock created from the 3 moon goddesses' power. However, at this moment, even if he used all of his strength, the space around him would not budge, and it did not even ripple. Just why did you modify this world? Fei was also struggling against the spatial lock. A wild look appeared on the mad scientist's ugly face. Of course, it was to welcome all of Earth's players. I used 10 years to research a way to bring out Earthlings' minds and create equipment that could send their minds to this world. That's right, it's the gaming equipment that you're using right now. After coming here, according to this world's rules, Earthlings' minds are attached to a puppet, and they can enjoy this beautiful journey created by the glorious me. Oh! All Earthlings should thank me because I've given you the most exciting and perfect game, a 100% realistic virtual game. If this was left to them, those stupid Earthlings would never have been able to experience such a perfect game. The shock within Ling Chen and Fei's hearts grew. They couldn't help but admit that Mystic Moon was simply too perfect to the point that it was the most acclaimed game in history, and no faults could be found in it. It was perfect to the point that apart from them, no one could detect that this was not a virtual world. If it wasn't for Ling Chen and Fei obtaining the Lunar Scourge and Lacuses, respectively, and experiencing things that other players did not experience, perhaps they would not have discovered this either. Even though they had long since gradually started to realize that the Mystic Moon world was not a simple virtual world, they could not get to the bottom of it. In their extreme shock, they finally realized the truth behind this world. The answer, as well as the truth, was incredibly terrifying and unbelievable. The mad scientist was the only person who they truly feared, and they were certain that there could not be an even more abnormal and terrifying existence. Only today did they realize that the mad scientist was thousands, if not tens of thousands, of times more terrifying than they had thought. You're also holding the Cosmos Corporation under duress? Ling Chen's eyes widened as he breathed raggedly. As he desperately fought to break free, his face became bright red. Holding them under duress? Oh, no, no, no. The mad scientist shook his head. I'm helping them fulfill their goals, making their minds completely loyal to me forever. I'm helping them complete this glorious game. Being loyal to me is the greatest glory of their lives, hey. Ling Chen and Fei both knew that the loyalty that the mad scientist spoke of was turning everyone in the Cosmos Corporation into his puppets, following his every command. This would be incredibly simple for the mad scientist. Ling Chen gritted his teeth and asked the question that he wanted to know the answer to the most, because the answer could determine the fate of the Earth. Just why did you modify Mystic Moon and turn it into a game? Of course, Ling Chen would not naively believe that the mad scientist had done this purely to create the perfect virtual game experience for humans. He had spent more than 10 years to create all of this, so he definitely had a horrifying goal. Why, I did it! Hey. The mad scientist narrowed his eyes, an ugly look of intoxication appearing on his face. Of course, it was to give you lowly Earthlings a glorious home. Over the past year, more and more Earthlings have enjoyed themselves in the world I created to the point that they have forgotten their own homes. When the time comes, their spirits will be imprisoned here so that they cannot return to their real bodies. The puppets that these spirits are attached to will also disappear, and when that time comes, they will become spirits without a host. They'll be taken into a cage that I've prepared for them, turning into glorious sacrifices, for lowly Earthlings to become such glorious sacrifices. They should be incredibly grateful to me, Ling Chen and Fei's hearts rapidly thumped as a chill chaotically spread throughout their bodies. They now understood. The mad scientist had spent much effort to modify this world and attract players into this world. Through the mad scientist's special equipment, players' minds, or rather spirits, entered this world like they were going into a normal virtual game. The mad scientist's goal was actually to cruelly cut the connection between their bodies and spirits, turning them into spirits with nowhere to go. Putting aside why the mad scientist would do something so devoid of conscience and so deranged, since this was part of his plan, he definitely had the ability to do this. What's more, once he achieved this, with the Mystic Moon's terrifying numbers, the billions of players online would become human vegetables with living bodies but no spirits. This was an incredibly terrifying, soundless massacre. Ling Chen suddenly thought of the news he had seen not too long ago, and he said hatefully, "Was the Cosmos Corporation's media announcement given by Smith part of your plan as well? Could it be that next month, bingo? As expected from the atom that I developed, you're completely correct." The mad scientist insidiously smiled. Before, the beautiful Mystic Moon plan was meant to be completed after a year because I wanted to use the Earth's environment to complete many experiments that I wanted to complete. Once this plan has been carried out, I'll have to destroy the Earth, and I won't be able to conduct those wonderful experiments anymore. However, the glorious king has spoken. Because of some unexpected events, we are to complete all of the plans within 3 months. Even though I don't want to give up on my wonderful experiments, King's orders are not to be disobeyed, so I had to bring the time forward to next month. Old Man Smith has given a perfect announcement, 10x EXP and drop rates. With Earthlings' ridiculous greed, they'll definitely create a new record for the number of logins, and at least 80% of the Earth's population will come into the world I've created for them. That way, I'll be able to collect billions of spirits at once. Wanting to take a person's complete spirit is incredibly difficult, and it is thousands of times more difficult than simply controlling a person's spirit. This is because they can't violently struggle during the process. Otherwise, even if I succeed, their spirit will be damaged. Also, the person can't die, or their spirit will quickly wither. The idiots carrying out the same sort of plans as me have been knocking out their people before taking their spirits, while others use techniques to control their minds. All of this takes incredible amounts of time and effort, and it might waste more than half of their spirits. My method is something those fools will never even imagine. Only me, the genius madman, could think of such a perfect and genius plan. The mad scientist's wild laughter cut like knives into Ling Chen and Fei's ears and hearts. What they were listening to sounded even more fantastical than a fantasy, and it was even more terrifying than hell. They had known and feared the mad scientist for more than 10 years, and had thought that he was only a mad researcher. They never thought that the incredibly monstrous and shocking experiments that he carried out were only his side projects. His main plan was actually such a shocking plot. In a month, what the Earth will face was certain doom. You madman! What do you want to do with so many spirits? And who is this king you've been referring to? Is it that you aliens want to devour Earth? Ling Chen furiously roared. Right now, the only thing that Ling Chen could think of was that the mad scientist was from a planet that was far more advanced and powerful than Earth, while King was the leader of that planet. The mad scientist was carrying out a plan to control and devour the Earth. This sort of plot appeared quite often in sci-fi movies, but no alien had ever used such sick and mad methods. If he really succeeded, the mad scientist would have single-handedly destroyed Earth. Hey, didn't I already say that it's to make you Earthlings into glorious sacrifices? Devour your Earth, So ridiculous, so ridiculous. The mad scientist madly laughed. If I wanted to do so, the first year I came to Earth, all humans would have died. The tiny Isrock disease was equivalent to a death sentence to you humans, while I'm able to make things that are thousands of times worse than the Isrock disease. If I spread those diseases, Earth would have turned into a dead planet in a matter of months. However, Earth's fate is still to be destroyed. After the Mystic Moon plan is concluded, the Earth and Mystic Moon will be destroyed. I will create new diseases to destroy this beautiful Mystic Moon world, while Earth, you two will be my weapons of destruction. When the time comes, you can kill those spiritless vegetables and hunt down those who aren't in the Mystic Moon, causing terror, howling, and death to fill the Mystic Moon and Earth. The mad scientist stood in front of Ling Chen and Fei, less than 3 steps away from them, his skeleton-like head filling their vision. Since you know your destiny, it's time to turn you two into true killing machines. Ling Chen and Fei both understood that with the mad scientist's extremely cautious personality and incredible intelligence, if he wasn't planning on turning them into puppets immediately, he wouldn't have told them so many shocking secrets. They could both guess what he was about to do. He was going to sever the connection between their spirits and bodies, and take their spirits captive before creating an artificial consciousness to put into their bodies, turning them into his puppets. The gaming equipment was created by the mad scientist, so doing this would be incredibly simple for him. Your minds were modified by me to the point that even I felt fearful. If this was Earth, even I would not be able to control your minds. However, since I found you in the Mystic Moon world, this must be a wonderful opportunity given to me by the heavens. The mad scientist took a step forwards. To Ling Chen and Fei, this was like a death god taking a step closer to them. Because in this world, I'm an omnipotent god. If I want to control or destroy your bodies or take your minds captive, it will only take a single thought. So now, as the mad scientist's voice became crazier and crazier, his gaze becoming more and more dangerous. Ling Chen and Fei's expressions gradually became more and more fearful. At this moment, a strange light flickered in the depths of their eyes. Ling Chen's face paled, and his eyes trembled as he said in an incredibly shocked voice, "You madman, just then you said that there's a thing called the lunar scourge, which is something that you can't control. Ha, ha, ha. And you said that you were an omnipotent genius. So there are things in this world that even you can't control. Ha, 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 ha." Ling Chen dryly laughed. His stiff laughter and words were his last attack against the mad scientist in his fear and despair, an extremely weak counterattack. Hearing his words, the mad scientist coldly laughed. Even though the lunar scourge and lachesis are both godly items, the lachesis belonged to a kind and loving goddess, so even though I forcefully used its power, it did not want to retaliate and injure me. However, the lunar scourge belonged to a tyrannical overlord, a tyrant who destroyed all gods. Its power was domineering to the extreme, and let alone control it. If it sensed that you even wanted to control it, it would madly attack and try to devour your mind. However, it's impossible for you, ignorant Adam, to know about these things, even though your body and mind have surpassed the limits of humans due to my modifications. You're still a low and ridiculous earthling, he. The shock on Ling Chen's face increased by a bit as he said with a trembling voice, That means that even though you control this world's rules, you're still unable to control the lunar scourge. If the lachesis, which is on the same level as the lunar scourge, was not so merciful, you would not have been able to control it either. Hee ha ha. So there are things that even you can't control. You madman, you said that you were omnipotent. What a joke. Ha, ha, ha. Hee laugh as much as you want, Adam. I'll mercifully give you a bit more time so you can ignorantly laugh until you're satisfied, because afterwards, you'll never be able to laugh again, he. Facing Ling Chen's mocking, the mad scientist was not enraged at all, and he said venomously, "In this world, no one can doubt my genius and omnipotence. I can't control the lunar scourge and lachesis because they're the only two items left behind by gods in this chaotic space. Within the limits of humans, there's nothing that I can't do. However, they're within the scope of gods. This is a realm that even the great king desires, but it is something that he has not been able to reach. I'm unable to control those godly items, and no one in the world can control them. They can only become their puppets." Ling Chen's eyes widened. The shock and fear on his face remained. Hearing you say this, his trembling voice suddenly became condescending as his gaze instantly became cool and sharp. "Then I can rest at ease. Lunar Scourge Divine Spear. Truly dead?" As Ling Chen suddenly roared, a blinding light shot out from the lunar scourge, condensing into the lunar scourge in Ling Chen's hand. The instant that the lunar scourge divine spear appeared, the spatial lock around Ling Chen and Fei that the mad scientist claimed was the most powerful spatial lock in the mystic moon world suddenly disappeared, allowing Ling Chen and Fei to regain their freedom. On Fei's right hand behind Ling Chen, the red, yellow, and blue rings of lachesis simultaneously lit up. "Fei!" As Ling Chen yelled out, the lachesis light shone to its extreme, and all of its power covered the mad scientist, who could not react in time. Ultimate dimensional domain. Time seemed to flow incredibly slowly. The instant that the lunar scourge divine spear appeared, the mad scientist's wild laughter suddenly froze as his face twisted and his pupils dilated. His body slightly leaned back as if he was trying to do something, but before he could do anything, his body stopped in place, unable to move at all, as if he had been locked down just as Ling Chen and Fei had been before. From when Ling Chen and Fei had escaped from the spatial lock to when the mad scientist had been locked down, everything happened in the blink of an eye. The mad scientist did not have any battle capabilities, so he naturally did not have any battle sense. At that sort of speed, He could not react at all, and the frozen mad scientist's eyes were open wide, staring at Ling Chen and Fei. At this moment, he finally saw Ling Chen and Fei's lunar scourge and lachesis, a look of deep shock appearing in his eyes, as he choked out the words. Lachesis and lunar scourge. Impossible! This is impossible! Mad scientist! Ling Chen gritted his teeth as he breathed raggedly. I admit that you're powerful to the point that I'm afraid. You've always been incredibly proud and confident, and indeed, you have the right to be arrogant, but today, you've fallen because of your confidence and arrogance. Just then, you said too much to us because you believed that there was nothing that could escape from your control, and that it would be impossible for us to break free, and you even told us your only two weaknesses, the lachesis and lunar scourge. At the same time, you were too arrogant to consider that the lachesis and lunar scourge could be controlled by other people, at least, definitely not by Earth's players, who you look down on so much. However, we're going to have to disappoint you. You control this world apart from two things, which are on Fei and myself. Impossible. Impossible. The mad scientist's eyes became bloodshot. This was the first time that Ling Chen and Fei had seen the mad scientist look so shocked, and they never thought that the terrifying mad scientist could have such a reaction. The lunar scourge is an item of utmost evil, and anything that goes near it will be turned into a puppet or destroyed. How can it be on you? And the lachesis energy was completely used up by me, and it could not even recover 0.1% of its energy over these years. How is this possible? How is this possible? In this world, there's no such thing as impossible. Ling Chen coldly laughed as he raised the lunar scourge divine spear. The lunar scourge is completely controlled by me, and it has almost been restored. The lachesis energy was indeed emptied out, but it has quickly recovered after being controlled by Fei, and now, more than 10% of its energy has been restored. It's enough to suppress your spatial power and your control over rules. The spatial lock that the mad scientist had used was indeed the most powerful spatial lock in the Mystic Moon world, and only the lachesis spatial power and the lunar scourge's power could destroy it. Even if the mad scientist was 100 times as intelligent and cautious, he would not have expected that the two items that only ancient true gods could use were on Ling Chen and Fei, and that they could be fully used by them. The spatial lock had been destroyed by them in an instant, and lachesis spatial power had exploded out, sealing the mad scientist and his power of rules, directly canceling out the power that the mad scientist had over the rules of the Mystic Moon world, because this power originally came from the lachesis. Adam, don't waste words with him. Kill him immediately, they reminded Ling Chen in a loud voice. Because the lachesis rule power was completely depleted and it takes a long time to restore. Even if I empty all of it, it can only stop him for less than 5 minutes. Right now, he can't affect any of the rules of the world, and I've also changed the rules to lock his mind here. If you kill him here, his mind will be destroyed, and the mad scientist on Earth will become a mindless vegetable. Hurry and do it! We both know just how terrifying he is, and every second we waste increases the possibility of something unexpected happening. If he escapes, the consequences will be unimaginable. Fei's words caused a chill to pass through Ling Chen's body, and he equipped both of his weapons as he rushed towards the mad scientist. You said that meeting us in this world was a wonderful chance. Now, I'll return those words to you. This is a chance given to us by the heavens to get rid of you. You want billions of people to become human vegetables. This is your punishment. The mad scientist's eyes once again widened. Seeing Ling Chen's savage and gleeful eyes, as well as the two weapons that were about to slam onto his body, and feeling the power to change rules disappear from him, he felt the aura of death for the first time. He screamed, "Stop! You have the lunar scourge, so you're the Shura that King wanted to create. Ah! You! Hurry and save me! You? Little master, stop! Qi Yue's voice hurriedly sounded out in Ling Chen's mind, causing his actions to slightly pause. Qi Yue quickly said, "Don't kill him yet. He hasn't fully explained why he's doing this, and he hasn't said what the sacrifices are for, or who the king is. You should make him spill his secrets before killing him, or no!" Ling Chen resolutely refused. "Fei's right. Every second he lives for is a possibility for him to escape. He couldn't predict that Fei and I would have the Lachesis and Lunar Scourge, but he might have something that can reverse the situation. If he escapes, neither Fei nor I, as well as the whole Earth, can bear the terrifying consequences. But Shattered Moon, Shura instant hellish annihilation. You? Arg! Boom! Qi Yue's image appeared in front of Ling Chen as if she wanted to stop Ling Chen. However, Ling Chen's Shura's power was too domineering, and the Lunar Scourge Divine Spear and Shura Emperor Sword easily passed through Qi Yue, slamming into the mad scientist's small and skinny body, resulting in a massive explosion. After the mad scientist's ability to control rules was taken away by the Lachesis temporarily, he was no longer a threat. His HP and other stats were about as high as a LV0 normal player stats, and might be even lower. With that sort of strength, even if Ling Chen did not use any weapons, he would have been able to kill the mad scientist hundreds of times over with just a simple kick. However, Ling Chen smashed out with both of his weapons and released two of his strongest skills. This showed Ling Chen's determination to kill the mad scientist, as well as the deep fear he felt towards him. The mad scientist's cry of pain only lasted for an instant, before he was reduced to dust by the Shura's berserk power. No matter if it was his clothes, body, or his white-framed glasses, he was utterly destroyed without a trace. Although the mad scientist's gaming equipment to enter the Mystic Moon world was more advanced, the equipment was generally the same as theirs. He was also recognized as a player, and after dying, his mind would be sent to the nearest revival point where a new body would revive. However, this rule was not absolute, such as when Moon Goddess White Snow had made it so that Ling Chen could not return to a city to be revived and could not even log off. This could be also done through the Lachesis power to change rules. The three moon goddesses were unable to change the rule that players could not be truly killed, but the Lachesis could. This was because these rules had originally been changed by the mad scientist using the Lachesis, so it could naturally undo what he had done. Not only had the mad scientist's body been sealed in the dimensional domain, but also his mind had been sealed so that he could not teleport or log off based on the world's rules. The rules also allowed for him to be destroyed, so the mad scientist's body and mind were smashed into nothing by the Shura's power. Seeing where the Shura's power had erupted, Qi Yue sighed and vanished. When the dust finally settled, a crater that was many meters deep appeared in front of Ling Chen. The surroundings became incredibly quiet, and apart from him and Fei, there was nothing else around. The terrifying voice, clothes, and face had well and truly disappeared from before them. Ling Chen put away the Shura Emperor Sword and Lunar Scourge Divine Spear and stared at where the mad scientist had been before saying uncertainly, "Is the mad scientist truly dead? Has he become a vegetable?" "I think so." They also sounded quite uncertain. Seeing how scared he looked in the end, he should be dead. With his personality, he wouldn't be able to fake such an expression, nor would he allow himself to reveal such an expression. Only when he's facing death would he involuntarily reveal such an expression. So the mad scientist should be dead this time. Ling Chen tried to sound as certain as he could. This sort of reaction from Ling Chen and Fei was quite normal. This was because the mad scientist had been their greatest fear and trauma, and was the only person who terrified them. In their hearts, he was like a demon. They had wanted to destroy him, but they had never been able to. Subconsciously, They believed that killing this terrifying madman would be thousands of times more difficult than killing Instructor Hell, and would be almost impossible. However, today, the mad scientist had surprisingly appeared in front of them, and he had been killed with a single attack? If Faye was right about his mind being destroyed, the mad scientist in the real world had become a vegetable. For them to defeat this enemy, who they had feared the most and thought that defeating him would be more difficult than scaling the heavens, in a single strike, they almost couldn't accept that this was reality. The two of them fell silent and stared at the crater, and they did not immediately leave. Ding! Ling Chen's communication device sounded out, and Ling Chen picked it up, hearing Shao Qi's excited voice. Big brother Ling Tian! Super good news! All of the demon beasts suddenly all vanished, not just the demon beasts in front of Ling Tian City. Big Sister Meng Xian and Xiao Shui heard that all of the demon beasts in front of the Forgotten City and the 4 main cities disappeared as well. It is as if they evaporated like steam. Not a single one is left. All right, I got it. Faye and I will return soon. After hanging up, Ling Chen raised his head and looked towards Faye, who was also looking at him. After a while, a beautiful smile suddenly appeared on Faye's face. Looks like we've really killed the mad scientist. Those demon beasts were created by the mad scientist using a special method, and it looks like they were linked to the mad scientist's spirit. Since the mad scientist's spirit was destroyed, they also disappeared. The disappearance of the demon beasts perfectly coincided with when you killed the mad scientist. That should be the case. Ling Chen nodded, a faint, relaxed smile appearing on his face as he let out a long sigh inwardly. The mad scientist's death was equivalent to getting rid of his and Faye's worst nightmare, making it so that there was no longer anyone who he and Faye feared in this world. How did he do all of this, though? Putting aside how terrifying those demon beasts were, they were all demon beasts from over 10,000 years ago, and there was even the ancient demon beasts and demon emperors. Just how did he clone them? This sort of thing should have exceeded the limits of rules, right? Ling Chen said as he frowned. Faye smiled. Who knows? Apart from the mad scientist himself, I doubt anyone else knows. He's undoubtedly an abnormal genus, and since it's something incredibly abnormal, there's no need for us to know. Otherwise, wouldn't we also become abnormal madmen and madwomen? The stopped mystic moon plan. Ling Chen and Faye had unexpectedly eliminated their greatest worry and threat, but they were unable to relax. This was because from what the mad scientist had said, they felt a formless, dark net covering their world. Thinking of the terrifying plan that the mad scientist had been carrying out and was about to complete, they could help but feel incredibly shocked. Now that the mad scientist was dead, it would be impossible for them to find answers. Just what was the goal of the mad scientist's mystic moon plan? Where did the mad scientist come from? Who's the king he was talking about? What did he mean by I was the Shura that king wanted to create? Why was he calling out you before he died? Could he have an ally called you who he was asking for help from? Ling Chen and Faye laid out their questions, but they could not think of any answers. However, these questions became hazes that settled in their hearts. Before today, they never thought that their peaceful Earth would be in such horrifying danger. If it wasn't for the mad scientist voluntarily appearing in this world, they never would have known the truth behind the mystic moon world, and the consequences for Earth were too horrible to think about. If the mad scientist's really dead, apart from his allies, no one will know the answers to these questions, so we should just let them go. Of course, I hope that he didn't have any allies and that this monstrous plan will fully stop, Faye said calmly. I hope that's the case. However, this isn't over. There's still the Cosmos Corporation, Ling Chen said. Faye raised her eyebrows, instantly realizing how serious this was. You mean? The Mystic Moon world is a real world, and it isn't a virtual game created by the Cosmos Corporation. The Cosmos Corporation has been controlled by the mad scientist this entire time, so now that the mad scientist has effectively died, who knows what will happen to the Cosmos Corporation? Once those people regain their consciousness, what they might do is announce to the world the truth behind Mystic Moon. Of course, this would be the real truth, but they will at least say that this was not a game developed and run by them, and that they were hijacked by a group of people who wanted to use the game to destroy the Earth. One of two things will happen. The whole world will go crazy, or the whole world will think that the Cosmos Corporation has gone crazy. As more and more players start to believe this, there will be great upheavals within the game, and the real world might even fall into chaos. The key thing is that the mad scientists use the rules to make it possible to exchange gold in this world with the world's currency, and this has been supported by banks across the world. Many players' entire fortunes are in the Mystic Moon world, so if the Cosmos Corporation reveals the truth, the whole world might fall into an economic crisis. As Ling Chen spoke, his frown became deeper and deeper, and he gradually saw more and more how big this problem was. Ling Chen's eyes immediately flashed as he thought of something and said in a low voice, "The situation might be even more urgent than we thought." Smith from the Cosmos Corporation wasn't turned into a puppet, and he was only forced to work for the mad scientist. "How do you know?" Faye asked in shock. "Because when I saw his announcement, even though Smith seemed quite weary and tired from his eyes, I could tell that he wasn't a puppet, or I would have been able to instantly tell." In order to prevent Smith, who appears frequently on TV, from being exposed as a puppet, he used his methods to coerce Smith, making him follow his orders. Right now, he might be imprisoned somewhere within the Cosmos Corporation's headquarters. Because he has been awake this entire time, he might have seen and understood the mad scientist's true goal and the truth behind the Mystic Moon world. Once he regains his freedom, he might announce this truth to the public. Ling Chen stopped frowning. Evidently, he had made some sort of decision. Seeing the change in Ling Chen's expression, Faye, who understood him all too well, guessed what he was going to do and said with a slight smile, "You're going to go to the Cosmos Corporation?" "No, it's best that I go. After all, I've spent more time in America than you. I know where the Cosmos Corporation is, and a few years ago, I even snuck in. It's much better for me to go." Ah. Hearing this, Ling Chen swallowed the words that he was about to say. He scratched his head, nodded, and said, "All right, it's indeed better for you to go. However, no matter what, place your safety first. The mad scientist might have put in many defense mechanisms, so it's best that you bring a few people, and with regards to time, I know how urgent this is, so I'll immediately log off and head there. I won't need to bring anyone, and as for safety, you don't need to worry about that," Faye said as she raised her large chest with pride. "All right." Ling Chen nodded. "I'll tell Xiao Shui to start preparing to, by the Cosmos Corporation tomorrow. If you can find Smith, make sure you talk to him about all of this. With how intelligent he is, even if he is reluctant, he should know that this is the best thing to do." Faye paused for a moment before her eyes lit up. It's indeed a perfect way of resolving this. As long as we can control the Cosmos Corporation, we can hide the truth, allowing the Mystic Moon world to continue existing as a virtual game. With the Li family's current reputation, influence, and finances, they can buy the Cosmos Corporation without raising great complaints from the rest of the world. Smith should know what sort of decision he should make. As for why the Li family financial group would buy the Cosmos Corporation and why they sold, I'm sure Xiao Shui will be able to give a perfect reason. I'll move out now, and I should reach America by early morning tomorrow at the latest. If Smith hasn't been turned into a puppet by the mad scientist, there's a 99% chance that he's in the Cosmos Corporation's headquarters. After saying this, Faye quickly logged off. With Faye heading to the Cosmos Corporation, Ling Chen did not have to worry about her safety. Even if there were 100 machine guns aimed at her, they would not be able to harm a single hair on her head. He only hoped that everything would go as smoothly as they had discussed. "Have you been shocked stiff by the truth?" Qi Yue's voice sounded out in Ling Chen's mind. Ling Chen stayed silent before slowly saying, "Qi Yue, did you try to stop me just then because you felt that I was too hurried in killing that madman?" "That's right, you were too hurried," Qi Yue replied after falling silent for a moment. "He had massive secrets and plots in his mind, but you killed him before asking him about them. If anything happens in future, we'll be in a passive position. I wanted to make him answer all of our questions. I wanted that a lot." Ling Chen breathed heavily. "However, Faye and I understand just how terrifying he is. If he escaped while giving us those answers, Faye and I might never have such a chance again, and we would be plagued with countless problems. As such, it was better for us to get nothing and kill him. This is even more so given that he would not reveal anything that he did not want to reveal even in the face of death. Since this was Little Master's decision, I naturally won't think that it's wrong." Ling Chen picked up his communication device and contacted Li Xiaoshui. "Xiaoshui, where are you now? There's something important that I need to discuss with you." After asking Li Xiaoshui where she was, Ling Chen returned to Ling Tian City. This deserted wilderness had been completely ravaged by the demon beasts, and after Ling Chen left, there were no longer any living creatures around, only the howling wind. After a short while, a black, shadowy figure appeared where Ling Chen had been. She silently looked at where the mad scientist had been killed before muttering, "His spirit has been destroyed without even a trace remaining. Who would have thought that the madman, who feared neither the heavens nor the earth, would be killed like this by those lowly creatures? Even if he didn't die, I would have killed him one day. However, the timing of his death is simply too disastrous. I hope it won't be detected by them, may I?" After giving a long sigh, the black figure slowly faded and disappeared at an unknown place in an unknown planet. "King!" Just then, I completely lost my spirit connection with the mad scientist. He might be dead already. That's right, his spirit has died without any struggle, and there are no traces of it left. It was destroyed in an instant by powerful energy. It was on that mystic moon planet. Who would have thought that there were beings on that tiny planet that could kill the mad scientist? Go to the mystic moon planet and find out just who killed the mad scientist. Yes, King. Then, what about the mystic moon plan? The mad scientist never let anyone know about his progress on the plan, so we have no idea where he was up to. Don't worry about it. I'll give you 3 days to find the person who killed the mad scientist. If you can't find him, don't keep looking and instead start looking for the godchild. There's nothing more important than this. If we can't find the godchild before it matures, everything will be too late. Yes. I'll head to the mystic moon planet immediately." The demon beast disaster in the Forgotten Continent lasted for less than a day, and when the mad scientist died, all of the remaining demon beasts also disappeared. After the Forgotten Continent's residents rejoiced for a short while, they started the lengthy repairs. Nearly 2 million of the Forgotten Continent's residents had died during this disaster, and countless villages and towns had been destroyed or ravaged. If it wasn't for the players, these numbers would have been much higher. The number of player deaths greatly surpassed the number of resident deaths. After this disaster, the Forgotten Continent's residents' views towards the players completely changed, and this was especially so to the godly otherworld. Ling Tian. Lady Moon God representatives said that these demon beasts came from a different world and invaded our world. Their leaders were even more powerful than the Lady Moon Goddesses. That's right, that's right. I personally saw a demon emperor defeat a Lady Moon Goddess, but as soon as Ling Tian appeared, he destroyed that demon emperor in just a few blows. I heard that there were more than 100 of those demon emperors, and that they were all killed by Ling Chen. Otherwise, our forgotten continent would have been doomed. More than 100? There were thousands. They were all destroyed by Ling Chen himself. I saw with my own eyes his spear in his right hand and his sword in his left hand. Whenever he casually swung his spear and sword, the entire earth trembled, the sound like heavenly thunder. He could instantly annihilate the demon emperors that even the moon goddesses could not defeat. Ling Chen definitely isn't a human. He's definitely a god sent by the heavens to save our forgotten continent. Moon goddesses are already incredibly glorious gods, and he is a god even greater than the moon goddesses. Wasn't the moon god clan hunting down Ling Chen some time ago? Do you know why? It's because the 3 moon goddesses fell for Ling Chen and wanted Ling Chen to become the god king of their moon god clan. Think about it. With Ling Chen's strength, charisma, and looks, even the moon goddesses would be moved. However, Ling Chen did not want this, and he evaded the 3 moon goddesses, resulting in them making him a wanted fugitive. This was what I heard from secretly listening to the moon god representatives talking. Don't tell anyone. Oh, so it's like that. I was wondering why Ling Chen would be hunted down by the moon god clan. That makes perfect sense. I heard that the Forgotten Emperor gave the order to assemble the world's best blacksmiths to create a statue of Ling Chen to put in the center of the Forgotten City, at a position higher than the moon goddesses. And he should? He most definitely should. Ling Chen is a hero who saved our entire forgotten continent. Eh? Ah. Ah. Ella, look over there. That's Ling Chen. After the demon beast disaster, the Forgotten City was damaged and filled with ruins. The southern part of the city had been completely destroyed from White Snow's battle with the 3 demon emperors, and if the Forgotten City wanted to return to its former glory, it would take an incredibly long time. Ling Chen hovered above the Forgotten City, slowly flying about to check on the Forgotten City's status. However, what he never expected was that heaven-shaking cheers would sound out from below after he appeared. Wherever he flew, those below him would scream and cheer, putting down whatever they were doing and looking up. No matter if they were male or female, their gazes towards him seemed as if there were fires burning within their eyes, and countless people chased him wherever he went. Whenever he looked down, he would see a dense sea of people. It was as if the entire city's people were following him around. Ling Chen had no idea that his status in these people's hearts had surpassed even the moon goddesses after the demon beast disaster, reaching a point that no one ever had before. It could be said that Ling Chen was a god in their eyes, and he was the first human in history who had surpassed the level of moon gods and moon goddesses. The reactions from the residents due to Ling Chen's appearance in the Forgotten City greatly exceeded what he had expected, and as he was preparing to leave, he suddenly saw the Forgotten Emperor rushing out with a big group of people. Before he had even come close, he emotionally yelled, "Hero Ling Chen, welcome to the Forgotten City. Please stay and be our guest so that our Forgotten City can thank you for saving us." Thinking back to how he had personally brought troops to attack Ling Chen City, the Forgotten Emperor regretted it to the point that he had wanted to slap himself hundreds of times. When he had been forced to sign that agreement with Ling Chen City, he had been utterly furious, but now he felt that Ling Chen was simply too magnanimous and kind. With the power that Ling Chen had displayed in the demon beast disaster, destroying the entire Forgotten City would be like killing an ant. Let alone the moon god representative. Even if the entire moon god clan moved out, they would not be able to stop him. Even though that incident had happened long ago, when the Forgotten Emperor met Ling Chen again, he was utterly terrified due to what he had done to Ling Chen City in the past. Seeing how fearful the Forgotten Emperor looked, Ling Chen guessed that the forgotten emperor would be scared to the point of kneeling if he even raised his voice. He looked at the massive crowd that was still growing and said, "No need. I just came to have a look at the forgotten city's condition, and I will be leaving now. You should quickly settle those whose homes were destroyed and carry out repairs." "Yes, yes." The forgotten emperor hurriedly nodded. "I'll definitely do as you said. Very well, goodbye." Ling Chen waved his hand and disappeared. That scene was passionate to the point that he couldn't take it. Returning to the air above Ling Tian City, Ling Chen breathed out as Qi Yue laughed in his mind. "Little master, how does it feel to become a hero and a savior and be worshipped by countless people?" Ling Chen rolled his eyes and replied, "I didn't want to become a hero, much less a savior. But the reality is that Little Master has already become a hero and a savior. Without Little Master, there would have been no one in the Forgotten Continent who could have taken down those demon emperors, and by now, the Forgotten Continent would not have existed anymore. Moreover, Little Master didn't just save the Forgotten Continent. If Little Master hadn't killed the mad scientist, it wouldn't just have been Mystic Moon that would be destroyed but also Earth, which is where Little Master lives. As such, it's not exaggerated at all to call Little Master a savior." Qi Yue said as she laughed. "Forget it." A frustrated look appeared on Ling Chen's face. "I didn't want the Mystic Moon world to be destroyed by demon beasts because the Sun God orb that I need is here. Moreover, I didn't kill the mad scientist to save the Mystic Moon world or Earth. I killed him because he's someone who I had to kill. I never wanted to save the world, nor did I have any grand ambitions. The title Savior is too heavy, and I simply can't bear it." "Oh," Qi Yue said calmly. After pausing for a few moments, her tone changed and became quite mysterious as if she was talking to herself. "Maybe one day you really will become a true savior." Ling Chen naturally thought that this was a joke. Just as he was about to return to the administrative district, a red light flashed beside him as Fei appeared with red clothes on and smiled at him. "When did you get back?" Seeing Fei suddenly appear, Ling Chen felt quite pleasantly surprised. This was because Fei had been in America dealing with the Cosmos Corporation the entire time, and had not said when she would be back. Just then, "Ah, seeing how spaced out you look, is it because of how much you miss me after not seeing me for just 3 days?" Fei asked as she smiled. "Che, you're thinking too much. Back then, we had separated for so many years." "Ah, why you would pinch me. You're Eve. How could you resort to such a thing?" "Humph, it's your fault for being so unsweet." Fei unhappily harumphed before saying calmly, "My trip to the Cosmos Corporation went quite smoothly. The mad scientist indeed set many defense mechanisms, but because most of them were controlled by the mad scientist through his technology, most of the defense mechanisms were rendered ineffective since his mind was destroyed. After I entered, I saw that everyone had been turned into puppets, working on their own things. They ignored me even when I stood in front of them." "What about Smith?" Ling Chen rubbed the skin that had been twisted 180 degrees by Fei as he listened. "Smith was indeed imprisoned within the Cosmos Corporation, and I found him on the top floor. I also found the mad scientist. He was lying in a special black life support system, and when I found him, he was still alive but without consciousness. Just to be safe, I destroyed his throat and heart, severed all of his veins and arteries, draining him of all of his blood, and then destroyed his head. This way, even if there are gods, they'll be unable to revive him," Fei calmly said with her arms wrapped around her chest. If there were any normal people around them who heard this, their faces would have become as pale as a sheet. "Just like you said, Smith hadn't been turned into a puppet. The mad scientist had been blackmailing him using his granddaughter this entire time. I saved him and his granddaughter, and said everything that I should say. What made me feel quite surprised was that he immediately agreed after hearing what I had to say despite this matter being so important. That's not too surprising, Ling Chen said. After suffering through that nightmare, you'd agree to anything from the one who saved you. Moreover, after going through that hellish experience, his goals in life would have greatly changed. Now, his greatest wish is most likely just to live out the rest of his years in safety and peace and watch his granddaughter grow up safely. He won't care about developments in a virtual game anymore. I'm sure he didn't know what he should do about all of this, so throwing this all to the Li family financial group was perfect for him. Fei thought about it before nodding and saying, I've already told Smith all he needs to do. He promised that he would do all he can to help, and will contact the Li family himself. Also, I've knocked out a few of the Cosmos Corporation's puppet employees, but it's a pity that I wasn't able to undo the mental control that they are under. However, after the mad scientist died, they're like a bunch of zombies without his mind controlling them, so I left my mark on their minds, making them obey me. In the future, I'll turn over their control to the Li family. This doesn't seem to be too bad. At the very least, there'll be a group of loyal employees. You also know how to do mental control. Ling Chen's eyes widened. Fei rolled her eyes and smiled. Didn't I just say that their minds were completely blank because the mad scientist died? Controlling them is as simple as writing on a blank sheet of paper. I just knocked them out and told them that I was their master after they came to again. That's it. Ling Chen. Birthday 1. Su Hang, Gu family's residence. Li Xiaoshui was elegantly sitting in front of Gu Qinghan and got straight to the point. Auntie Gu, so sorry to disturb you while you're so busy. There are some things that I want to hear your opinion on. It's like this. I'm preparing to buy the Cosmos Corporation. Li Xiaoshui looked at Gu Qinghan, waiting to see her reaction upon hearing the news that could shock the world. However, what shocked her was that even though Gu Qinghan was looking at her, her eyes had no focus, and she did not respond as if she had lost her soul. Auntie Gu? Li Xiaoshui asked, feeling quite surprised. With Gu Qinghan's personality, she would never allow herself to space out, especially when receiving a guest. Ah? Gu Qinghan came back to her senses and gave Li Xiaoshui an apologetic smile. I'm sorry, I just spaced out. What were you asking about? Li Xiaoshui did not repeat what she had just asked, and she instead said with a worried expression, Auntie Gu, after knowing you for so long, this is the first time that I've seen you so preoccupied. Is there anything on your mind? If you're willing, you can tell me about it. I might be able to give Auntie Gu some ideas. In actuality, with Li Xiaoshui's intelligent mind and her understanding towards Gu Qinghan, how could she not know that Gu Qinghan was spacing out because of Ling Chen? A faint look of sorrow appeared in Gu Qinghan's eyes as she slowly got up and walked in front of the French window. Only after a while did she say softly, Tomorrow is his 24th birthday. Li Xiaoshui felt a bit surprised and also stood up. Li Xiaoshui did not know when Ling Chen's birthday was. She had casually asked Ling Chen once, but Ling Chen had only calmly replied that he did not remember which day it was. Even Yunmeng Xian, Shao Qi, and Su'er did not know. Perhaps the only ones who knew were Xian Yuan Dia Wu and Ling Shuirua. However, even if everyone in the world forgot about his birthday, Gu Qinghan wouldn't. This was so even though she had believed that he had died 13 years ago. Can you help me get him my birthday blessings and a present? Gu Qinghan said softly as she looked out the window. With Li Xiaoshui's understanding towards Ling Chen, he would not care about birthdays. However, just because he did not care did not mean other people did not care, especially Gu Qinghan. Li Xiaoshui suddenly smiled. Auntie Gu, I only just found out today about Ling Chen's birthday. Thinking about it now, I think I should organize a birthday party for him. After all, it was because of him that our Li family has reached such heights. However, I can't help Onigu give him her present." Gu Qinghan's gaze became dim, and she bitterly shook her head. "It's fine. I know that I shouldn't selfishly disturb him before the right time. No, that's not what I meant." Li Xiaoshui shook her head as she came over to Gu Qinghan's side and said with a smile, "Rather, I think right now is the perfect time. I can't give it to Ling Chen for Onigu because this gift would be better for Onigu to give him." Gu Qinghan paused in shock, an emotional look appearing in her eyes. "Me give it to him? But just because Ling Chen has been avoiding it doesn't mean that he is resistant to it. He needed some time to accept it. After all, he had thought that his mother had passed away when he was a child, and he never knew the concept of a mother, nor has he ever experienced motherly love. It's quite difficult for him to suddenly gain a mother, and this is especially so for Ling Chen, who has gone through many special experiences. However, even though he can be a tough and unyielding person, from his actions, I can tell that he repays kindness with kindness, so he's definitely not an emotionless person. Rather, he's someone who values relationships, otherwise, he wouldn't have so many loyal followers." Li Xiaoshui smiled as she continued speaking in a touched manner. "Nor would so many girls have fallen for him so deeply. Now that so much time has passed, it should have been enough time for him to process this. Isn't tomorrow a great opportunity? Maybe he has already accepted you in his heart and has been thinking about you. Last time, him asking me to give you that medicine is the best evidence for this." As she spoke, Li Xiaoshui turned to look at the small and exquisite glass bottle on Gu Qinghan's desk. Every decoration here was worth astronomical amounts, but that insignificant bottle was placed in the most eye-catching place. If the person who was working at the table raised their head, they would be able to see it immediately. With how strong Ling Chen's personality is, even if he has accepted you and wants to see you, he won't take the first step. In that case, isn't Onigu willing? Gu Qinghan's gaze continuously trembled, and after hearing Li Xiaoshui's words, she lightly closed her eyes and slowly raised her hands, placing them in front of her chest as if she was praying. Morning of September 18, 3101. On this seemingly ordinary day, the Li family financial group made a shocking announcement. They had announced that they were about to buy the Cosmos Corporation, including all of its subsidiaries and assets. Following this, Director Smith of the Cosmos Corporation announced that he would do his best to work with the Li family financial group, and he reassured everyone that the running of Mystic Moon would not be affected. Under the Li family financial group, the Cosmos Corporation would perform even better. As for the reason, neither the Cosmos Corporation nor Li family financial group gave one. This was because Li Xiaoshui did not even need to give a reason. The world could guess whatever it wanted. The crazier the better. As for any opposition, especially opposition from the American government, Li Xiaoshui did not worry about that at all. This was because with the Li family financial group's current reputation, she was confident that she could quash all opposition. Bamboo Sea Wonderland. In the morning, Ling Chen did not enter the game. Right now, the Forgotten Continent was still a wreck, and he was not in the mood to find the Sun God orb in such conditions. After eating breakfast, he went to the bamboo forest and madly ran 10 or so laps and trained his reaction speed by dodging through the bamboo. After returning to the central area, he was covered with sweat, and he leapt into the swimming pool, putting his arms on the sides of the pool as he silently closed his eyes. Qi Yue, the Shura that King wanted to create. Phew! Ling Chen heavily breathed out and muttered, "If you're the you that the mad scientist was referring to, why have you never made me feel danger? If you're not, then just who are you, and what is your true goal, big brother?" Tian's clear voice rang out, and Ling Chen turned to see Tian jogging over in slippers, while holding her pink phone in her hands. "So Big Brother's here." Tian came to the pool and squatted down, looking at Ling Chen with a mysterious smile on her face. Just then, Big Sister Xiao Shui said that she'll arrive with Big Sister Bing Yao and a mysterious guest in 10 minutes. A mysterious guest? Ling Chen thought for a moment before nodding. All right, I got it. Looks like I'll need to get changed. After speaking, Ling Chen leapt out of the swimming pool, spraying Tian with water. Tian cried out and hurriedly patted her damp clothing, puffing up her cheeks as she said angrily, "Big Brother, you did that on purpose." Hee, of course I did that on purpose. Ling Chen laughed evilly. Who told Tian to drool all over my face last night? When I woke up halfway through the night, I thought our home had been flooded. Ha 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 ha. Tian's face became red, and she stomped her food, furiously chasing after Ling Chen. Don't run. I'm going to tell the big sisters that you've been bullying me again. A big figure and a small figure rushed into the house, followed by much yelling. When Tian came out, she was wearing a pretty and colorful dress, a pleased look on her face. As she walked out, she saw Shadisika, causing her to quickly walk over and ask, Sha Sha, are you ready? I've been prepared since yesterday. Our cooperation will be perfect, Shadisika replied with a mysterious smile. Don't let Big Brother hear. Tian placed a finger on her lips and cautiously looked behind her before giggling. Hurry and tell the big sisters to get ready. Big Sister Xiao Shui just said that they're nearly here. Got it. The two girls looked at each other and happily laughed before running off. At an unknown place in an unknown planet. King, we've found the person who killed the mad scientist. It's a human called Ling Tian. Ling Tian? A mere human dares to have such an arrogant name? Ling Tian can be interpreted as rising above the heavens. This human called Ling Tian is not someone from the Mystic Moon planet, and he instead comes from Earth. He seems to be able to freely go to the Mystic Moon planet due to the mad scientist's Mystic Moon plan, but he's incredibly famous and is the strongest person there. Since he was able to kill the mad scientist, he shouldn't be too weak. Have you gotten rid of him yet? Not yet, but it's not because I'm not his match. Rather, I haven't acted yet. This is because I smelled the Godchild's aura on him. What? That's right. The Godchild matter is more important than anything, so I definitely wouldn't be mistaken. In order not to inadvertently alert him, I haven't moved against him yet. I'm guessing that the Godchild is either on the Mystic Moon planet or on Earth. Rahu, go to Earth, and if you find the Godchild there, let me know immediately. Then King Yue, I'll personally go to the Mystic Moon planet. 10 minutes later, the roar of car engines drew near, and soon, two sports cars parked into the small parking lot. The first car's door opened as Li Xiaoshui elegantly walked out. She had on light makeup and was wearing a light blue dress that went to her knees. Following this, a cool aura swept out as Mu Bingyao silently got out from the car. Xiaoshui Bingyao. Yun Meng Xian and Xiao Qi, who had been waiting for them, quickly walked up and greeted them. Just as they were about to speak, the second car's door opened as a dignified-looking woman walked out. The two girls stared before simultaneously crying out, Ani Gu? Gu Qinghan warmly smiled. Meng Xian, Qi, it has been 2 years since we've last met. You've become more and more beautiful. Yun Meng Xian lightly smiled. Ani Gu's flattering us. Ani Gu looks even more magnificent and glamorous. If I can be even half as pretty as Ani Gu is when I'm her age, I'll be happy to death. But why are you here, Ani Gu? Xiao Qi asked curiously. Li Xiaoshui mysteriously smiled. Of course she's here to wish that man, who is lucky to death, a happy birthday. As for the specific reason, we'll talk about that later. Have you finished the preparations? Of course we have. We were just waiting for you. Let's go. Come on, Anigu. Xiaoqi grabbed Li Xiaoshui and impatiently walked towards the living room. The dining table was fully seated with people. Xianyuan Diawu, Yunmeng Xian, Xiaoqi, Suer, Mu Bingyao, Li Xiaoshui Fei, and Yola were all present, each of them looking incredibly beautiful. Each of them was extraordinarily beautiful, and seated together, any person would be intoxicated by the sight. Chao Ying and Chao Shi were wearing incredibly low tops and sexy miniskirts, their exposed flesh enough to make anyone's blood boil. They were each holding 2 bouquets of flowers and giving expectant and sweet smiles. Gu Qinghan was sitting at the head seat, and even though many of the girls had only met her for the first time and felt quite confused by why she was here, since she had been brought by Li Xiaoshui, they did not mind too much. After chatting with her, they felt much closer with her. Gu Qinghan had been involved in many big matters over her lifetime, and no matter how important or serious the matter she was facing, she remained absolutely calm. However, today, her heart had been beating rapidly the entire time, and facing these young women with incredible backgrounds, looks, temperaments, and histories, she felt as if she was in a dream. Li Xiaoshui, currently one of the most famous people in the world, the sole heiress to the Li family financial group, and the true controller of the Li family financial group. Yunmeng Xian, the most famous and beautiful woman in the world, the goddess of everyone's dreams, the lady of Ling Tian City. Xianyuan Diawu, the daughter of the Xianyuan family, the sword emperor of the virtual world, and a woman who would take her own life for Ling Chen. Xiaoqi, the princess of the Battle Alliance, the largest underground power in the north, and the fearsome flame empress in the virtual world. Suer, the sole heiress of the Su family, her father was the mayor of Beijing, and her uncle was the 3rd highest senior official in China, wielding incredibly military might. Gu Qinghan did not know Fei, Mu Bingyao, and Yola before today, but with her discernment, how could she not tell that they had a formless aura that far surpassed normal girls? This was especially so for Fei. Within her bright and beautiful eyes, she gave off an air of condescension. Evidently, she had seen many things, and even the most amazing things in the world were incredibly simple to her. Chao Shi and Chao Ying were Li Yunzai's adopted daughters, and every young man in Su Hang and the entirety of Zhongzhou wanted them. And yet, they stayed here as servants, and they not only did they not seem reluctant, but they also looked honored and blissful. Any one of these young women could shake the world. Who would believe that they resolutely surrounded a single man, and when they heard the name Ling Chen, they revealed the same expression, including Xiaoshui, Chao Ying, and Chao Shi. Gu Qinghan felt quite shocked. To be surrounded by these women, any man would be able to die 100 times without regrets. As Gu Qinghan reveled in shock, she unconsciously smiled. It was a smile of deep satisfaction and pride. It was even prouder than when she had single-handedly made the Gu family mighty again. Should he's going to come soon? Li Xiaoshui raised a finger to her lips. Ling Chen's door was opened as Tian and Shidisika held Ling Chen's hands on either side of him, with a large blindfold on his face. Aye! What are you doing, Tian? Are you trying to take revenge on me for bullying you just then? Ling Chen walked forwards under Tian and Sha Sha's guidance. Hee, no way. We're nearly there. Remember, you can't peek, Shidisika reminded him. Tian and Shidisika dragged Ling Chen in front of the table before blinking at the big sisters. Shidisika stood on her tippy toes and placed her little hands on the blindfold. All right, close your eyes, Ling Chen. 3, 2, 1. As she counted down in her clear voice, she quickly took off Ling Chen's blindfold, and Ling Chen opened his eyes. Pa! All of the lights were turned on as colorful confetti rained down from above Ling Chen. The cover over the table was lifted off as a large and colorful cake with 24 candles on it appeared. In front of Ling Chen were many beautiful and familiar faces covered with warm and joyous smiles, and his ears were filled with their singing. "Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you!" Ling Chen stood there, dumbfounded, feeling slightly stunned. Only when the women finished singing did he come back to his senses. So he's really a man who doesn't even remember his own birthday," Li Xiaoshui said while smiling. "Today's September 18th, your 24th birthday. I knew you would forget," Qianyuan Diaowu said softly as she stood up and looked at him. Ling Chen celebrated his birthday for the first time with her when he had only been 8 years old. After that, they had spent their 9th and 10th birthdays together. After they had been reunited, this was the first birthday that they had spent together. "Hee, happy birthday, big brother! Hurry and put this on!" Tian stood on her tippy toes and placed a small birthday hat on Ling Chen's head. "This is the cake that Tian and I baked for Big Brother. It was completely made by us." Shadisika raised her face and beautifully smiled. "Happy birthday, Big Brother Ling Tian," Saviour said softly. "I hope you'll be happy every day, forever and ever," Chao Qi said in a loud voice as she put her head on Saviour's shoulder. If you're happy, all of us will be happy." Yunmeng Xian smiled. "Master," a small smile appeared on Mu Bingyao's face, making her seem like a snow lotus that had blossomed perfectly. "After so many years, this is the first time that we've celebrated your birthday. This feeling is quite great. No wonder people like celebrating their birthdays," Yola said somewhat hazily with a slightly red face. "Phew, the first time we met, you were only 10 years old. Now, in the blink of an eye, you've become a 24-year-old old man. My Adam, you should enjoy the last bits of the springtime of your youth. Otherwise, you won't have this opportunity anymore," they said. This is the first time we've celebrated Master's birthday with him. This is so exciting." Chao Ing and Chao Shi's smiles blossomed like flowers. The countless rich and powerful young men who had desperately pursued them had never had the luck to see those smiles before. Ling Chen felt a tugging on his heartstrings, and an indescribable warmth filled his body and mind. As he swept his gaze across each of the beautiful faces, when he saw Gu Qinghan, his expression froze, and he subconsciously muttered, "Auntie Gu!" As he said this, everyone turned to look at Gu Qinghan. Apart from Li Xiaoshui, none of them knew why she was here. Gu Qinghan slowly stood up, her gaze slightly trembling as she calmly and elegantly smiled. "Happy birthday, Ling Chen. I know my presence here is quite strange, and I hope it won't affect all of you." "Of course not," Li Xiaoshui said before rolling her eyes at Ling Chen. "If it wasn't for Auntie Gu telling me, I wouldn't even have known that it was Ling Chen's birthday today. And there wouldn't be such a lovely scene today." Ling Chen. How did Auntie Gu know Big Brother Ling Tian's birthday? Even we didn't know, Chao Qi asked curiously. The intelligent and sensitive Yunmeng Xian and Fei's eyebrows jumped upon hearing Li Xiaoshui's words. Thinking to why she had brought Gu Qinghan here, they seemed to realize something. "We can talk about this later because right now it's time for our main character to do his part." Li Xiaoshui pursed her lips as she smiled. "Ling Chen, it's fine that you forgot about your own birthday. In the future, there will be many people to remember it hundreds of times clearer than you. Now, blow out the candles, close your eyes, and make a wish." Blow the candles. You need to blow all of them out," Tian reminded him as she held Ling Chen's hand. Facing this sort of scene and so many warm and loving gazes, what could Ling Chen say? No amount of words would be enough to express how touched he felt. September 18th was indeed his birthday, but without Diaowu and Shuirua, he would always forget about this date. Even if he remembered it, he would not pay much attention to it. From today onwards, there would be so many people remembering this day that belonged to him and to them. Ling Chen bent down and blew out the 24 candles in one breath. With his abilities, blowing out those 24 candles simultaneously was naturally quite easy. "Make a wish, big brother, make a wish." Even though he was completely unprepared, facing this sort of scene, Ling Chen could not resist at all. As Tian and Sha Sha encouraged him, he silently closed his eyes. His first wish, Rua, come back to my side soon. His second wish, that everyone by my side can be safe, happy, and worry-free. His third wish, that the Earth and Mystic Moon world will be safe and will not face any more disasters. Birthday 3. The wish-making is done. After making your wishes in front of so many beauties, even if you don't want your wishes to come true, they'll still come true. Come sit over here, big brother. Tian moved the chairs that Xiaoying and Chao Shi had prepared over, pulling Ling Chen to sit. She and Shadisika sat on either side of Ling Chen, looking like little angels. In order to wish our birthday boy Ling Chen a happy birthday, each of us have brought you a gift. I'm sure that you're very excited and have been looking forward to this, right? Ling Chen opened his mouth, not sure what to say. After all, he had only ever spent his birthdays with Xianyuan Diaowu before. This was the first time he had experienced such a heartwarming scenario before, and he could only dumbly nod. Wow! Big brother's going to get so many presents, you must be happy to death. Tian blinked with happiness and admiration. Of course, he looks calm now, but inside, he's probably smiling like a blooming flower, Li Xiaoshui said as she grinned, then turned to look at Gu Qinghan. Auntie Gu, as our senior, you should be the one to start. Wow! I wonder what Auntie Gu's present is. Xiaoqi sat up and looked on expectantly. A slight trace of nervousness appeared in Gu Qinghan's eyes as she stretched out her tightly clenched right hand. She had kept this present gripped in her hand because she had wanted to give this to him personally since a long time ago. After slowly opening her hand, everyone saw a small, jade pendant. It was an extremely ordinary-looking jade pendant and was the same shape and size as an olden-day copper coin. There was a very thin red string threaded through it, and it was a snow-white color, making it look like it was made of white jade. Ling Chen, this is Auntie Gu's birthday gift for you. I hope you won't dislike it. Gu Qinghan slightly smiled as she said softly, Wow! It's a jade pendant. Yun Meng Xian examined the jade pendant for a while before smiling. It looks like it was made from an extremely pure and high-grade Hetian jade, and it contains no impurities at all. Jade pendants are usually given for safety, and Hetian jade was used as sacrifices in the past, so jade pendants made from Hetian jade have the meaning of praying to the heavens for one's blessings and safety. Auntie Gu has spent much thought on this. Just as Ling Chen was about to stand up and reach over, he saw Li Xiaoshui's complicated gaze looking at him as she said, No less than expected from Meng Xian, well observed. That's right. A jade pendant made from Hetian jade has the meaning of praying to the heavens for one's blessings and safety. Auntie Gu's jade pendant's craftsmanship and its purity are both top-notch, and it is worth entire cities. However, that's not the main point. The main point is that this jade pendant was personally carved by Auntie Gu. Personally carved by Auntie Gu? That's right. Li Xiaoshui lightly nodded. Moreover, there are 23 of these jade pendants in Auntie Gu's home. Each of them was personally carved by Auntie Gu. Ling Chen. Auntie Gu had such a hobby? Xiaoqi asked in surprise. With the Gu family's strength and Gu Qinghan's status in the family, how easy would it be for her to purchase such a jade? Why would she carve it herself? Of course not. Li Xiaoshui shook her head. This small jade pendant contains Auntie Gu's purest prayers. In order for the heavens to feel her sincerity, not only did she personally carve the jade, but she also personally chose the Hetian jade and red string and never allowed anyone else to help. After completing the jade pendants, no one else has ever touched them. Has Auntie Gu been praying for someone's safety? Yunming Xian asked in a soft voice. Li Xiaoshui nodded and glanced at Ling Chen as she said slowly. Even though Auntie Gu is alone now, when she was younger, she had a son. However, a few days after her son was born, she was separated from him, and she could only see him after 10 years. Being separated from her own flesh and blood was a great torment to Auntie Gu, and she became very sickly from missing her child so much. On her sickbed, she carved her first jade pendant. It could be said that she used her life to carve it. After that, every year, when it was nearly his birthday, she would find the purest Hetian jade and use all of her thoughts and effort to carve a jade pendant to pray to the heavens for her child's safety. Just like that, after she carved her 10th jade pendant, she heard that her child had been infected with the Isrock disease and had gone missing. They could not find his living person or his corpse. Ah! The girls all cried out. So sad. No wonder Auntie Gu seemed so sad whenever I saw her. Xiaoqi's hands were clasped in front of her chest, her eyes filled with tears. It's okay, Auntie. In the future, we'll all be your family. Tian's eyes trembled as she comforted Gu Qinghan in a soft voice. Aya, let me finish, Li Xiaoshui said as she continued. The story isn't as bad as you think. After hearing that, Auntie Gu was inconsolably heartbroken, but she still carved a jade pendant every year, because that was her only way of holding on amidst her despair. I'm sure that the heavens heard Auntie Gu's prayers, and they were moved by her earnest prayers. Her child did not die. No, he's still living well, and is doing better than anyone else, surrounded by countless beauties. Oh, and what's coincidental is that his birthday just so happens to be September 18th. That's the same birthday as Big Brother. What a coincidence. Tian nodded before suddenly realizing something and quickly looking over at Gu Qinghan. The room suddenly fell silent as all of the girls' expressions became quite marvelous. Some had a glazed look in their eyes, while others' mouths fell open, realizing something. Auntie Gu! Xianyuan Dio was somewhat uncontrollably stood up and said with a trembling voice. Could it be that how could it? Wasn't it that from his youth he... Yola covered her mouth with her hands, her golden eyes widening. Who knows? Faye shook her head before thinking of something, a sorrowful look appearing in her eyes. She slightly smiled before looking at Ling Chen, a faint look of appreciation and admiration in her eyes. Is this true? Auntie Gu is Big Brother Ling Tian's Yunming Xian gently nudged Xiaoqi. When Ling Chen had first seen Gu Qinghan, he had felt slight confusion in his heart. Now, Li Xiaoshui had exposed the thing that he had been escaping from this whole time, causing his heart to completely fall into chaos. Every word that Li Xiaoshui spoke tugged at Ling Chen's heartstrings, and seeing the jade pendant in Gu Qinghan's hand, he could almost see her weakly lying on her sick bed with tears in her eyes, ignoring everyone else as she carved out a jade pendant bit by bit. He felt a pain and warmth within his heart as he stretched out his hand, taking the jade pendant into his hand. After being gripped in Gu Qinghan's hand, the jade pendant was quite warm, a type of warmth that could seep into one's heart, to the point that he felt tears forming in his eyes. He had thought that he did not have a mother or need a mother. He had thought that they would still be strangers even if she really was his mother, that there would be no emotions between them, so there would be no need to get to know her. But why did he think about her so many times in the past days? And why did he feel so much pain after hearing about how she had spent these years? And right now, in his heart, was it the bloodline connection that Faye said that he could never escape? Thank you, Auntie Gu. Ling Chen gripped the jade pendant and nodded somewhat stiffly. He subconsciously looked away, not daring to meet Gu Qinghan's gaze. The thank you and his avoidant gaze made Gu Qinghan feel a slight bitterness, and she forced out a smile and said gently, "You're welcome. I hope it can bring you peace and safety forever." Ling Chen nodded and opened his fist, staring at the jade pendant before pulling on the red string and putting it around his neck. When the jade pendant fell onto Ling Chen's chest, Gu Qinghan covered her mouth and lowered her head, tears flowing out of her eyes as her shoulders trembled. The girl's eyes all became red, and no matter how stupid they were, they could realize what was going on. Even though the situation was quite inconceivable, Ling Chen and Gu Qinghan's reactions had given them their answers. Their gazes towards Gu Qinghan completely changed. The Gu family's leader and Ling Chen's mother were two completely different people in their hearts. So Big Brother Ling Tian's mother was still alive and is. Seeing Gu Qinghan sobbing, Suer's eyes also became damp. Even though neither party had said it clearly, for Ling Chen to respond in such a way, Li Xiaoshui was satisfied. She patted Gu Qinghan's back and comforted her as she said with a slight smile, "Next, who should give their present? Since the first person to give their present was Auntie Gu, the youngest should go next. Tian Sha Sha, it's your turn." "Okay." Tian and Shadisika clearly responded before looking at each other and smiling. They got up from Ling Chen's sides and took a few steps back. "Big brother, this is our birthday present to you." Ling Chen will definitely like it." Tian and Sha Sha held hands. They were dressed in a flowery dress and a white dress and looked like a fairy and a little celestial goddess. Just the scene of them standing together was enough to make anyone feel intoxicated. "This is the song we wrote for Big Brother, called Yin Chen. Here it is." Tian. Lian Chen most likely means loving, Ling Chen. When Tian and Shadisika's song sounded out and they started to dance, Ling Chen fell into a deep trance. It had been more than a year since he and Shuirua had brought Tian into their home. Even though it was not a very short period of time, he had never heard Tian sing before, nor had she expressed any interest in singing. This was the first time that he had heard Tian singing, and it was for him. Tian singing was somewhat immature, and would sometimes go out of tune. After all, this song was written by Shadisika, and she had only practiced with Shadisika for half a day. However, her voice was simply too cute and pleasant, and even though she would sometimes go out of tune, everyone still liked to hear her sing. As for Shadisika's singing, it could only be described as perfect and wonderful. Shadisika and Tian danced as they sang, and Shadisika's soft voice did not go out of tune like Tian's, and it instead had a penetrating quality to it. Everyone could feel Shadisika's voice piercing into the deepest region of their hearts, making them sink in her voice, crushing all of their will and mental defenses. Their minds were solely focused on the incredible singing, unable to think about anything else. Did the sort of voice that could sway souls, something that even the best singers in the world could not do, really come from such a young girl? The song was filled with bliss, peace, fortune, and their love for Ling Chen. Every word they sang lightly tugged at Ling Chen's heartstrings. Accompanying their singing was their dancing. They looked like little goddesses, blossoming flowers, and butterflies at varying times. They had only rehearsed this dance for half a day, but it was almost perfect. This was because Tian and Sha Sha slept on the same bed every day and would interact every day, so they were incredibly close. Even without trying, they were able to work astoundingly well together. Their expressions were serious yet cheerful, their eyes burning, and their song and dance caused Ling Chen and everyone else present to feel intoxicated. They felt as if they had been swept into a beautiful fantasy world and wished that the song and dance would go on forever. As they watched on, the song and dance finally finished. As Shadisika and Tian were about to finish, they spun over to Ling Chen like dancing butterflies, and each of them hugged one of Ling Chen's arms as they lightly kissed him on the cheeks. "Happy birthday, big brother!" they yelled together, a red blush on their faces. "Wow! Wow! That was so beautiful!" Xiaoqi vigorously clapped, her eyes full of adoration. She felt an impulse to rush up and tightly hug these two angelic girls. "So cute, so cute! I feel like I'm melting! Woo! I really want to hug them!" Saviour muttered in a soft voice as she clutched at the corners of her dress, her gaze flashing. It's like we just experienced a song and dance by a pair of angels." Li Xiaoxue sighed in amazement. "This is especially so for Sha Sha. I'm sure that your voice is enough to shake the world." "Hee, no way. Plus, I'll only ever sing for Ling Chen," Shadisika said as she beautifully smiled. Ling Chen pulled Tian and Shadisika into an embrace, feeling incredibly touched. He didn't know just what he had done to be so lucky to have these two angelic girls stay by his side and love him so. "Thank you for your birthday present, Tian and Sha Sha. With you by my side, I'm the happiest person in the world. We're the same. As long as Big Brother is by our side, we're the happiest people in the world." Tian happily smiled after being hugged by Ling Chen. "Uh-huh." Shadisika also smiled. However, her body suddenly trembled as if she had been shocked by lightning, and her red cheeks became as pale as a sheet. "If Big Brother likes it, we can song more for Big Brother in the future. I think I'm starting to like singing more and more." After seeing how happy Ling Chen was with their song and dance, Tian suddenly became much more interested in singing. That's good." Ling Chen nodded, and just as he was about to let go of the girls, he suddenly felt a violent tremble from Sha Sha's body, and her temperature plummeted. "What's wrong, Sha Sha?" Ling Chen turned to her and asked caringly. When he saw Shadisika, Ling Chen's heart thumped because Shadisika's face was as pale as a sheet. Her smile was gone, replaced by a stiff expression and a trace of fear. Her eyes were rapidly dilating and contracting. "Sha Sha! What's wrong, Sha Sha?" Ling Chen hurriedly hugged Sha Sha, his voice becoming filled with panic. His cry caused everyone to notice something strange about Sha Sha, and they all anxiously came over. Faye did not move, and she started to deeply frown, because Sha Sha's reaction was one of extreme fear. Just what was going on? Why would she suddenly feel fear in such a place and time? There were no dangerous people here, and there was not even a trace of a dangerous aura. I'm fine." Shadisika shook her head, a stiff smile appearing on her face. "I just felt a bit uncomfortable. Maybe it was the food I had for breakfast." "I'm sorry, Ling Chen. Can I go and have a nap?" Ling Chen nodded. "All right, I'll carry you to your room." "No, it's all right. I can go by myself." Shadisika gently but resolutely got out of Ling Chen's embrace and lightly ran to her room. After reaching her door, she stopped and turned, her expression normal again. She stared at Ling Chen for a few seconds before saying, "I'll be fine after napping for a bit, so don't disturb me before I'm up. Ling Chen and everyone, make sure you live happily every day." After speaking, Shadisika gave Ling Chen and Tian a final, longing gaze before walking into the room and lightly closing the door. "Sha Sha, what's going on with her?" Tian held onto Ling Chen's arm with her small hands. Even she could tell that there was something different about Sha Sha. Things definitely weren't as simple as a stomachache from breakfast. She immediately called Yao Ying and the others and tell them to bring the medical equipment. Ling Chen quickly said, "Yes." Chao Ying and Chao Shi simultaneously replied as they went to make the call. A deeply unsettling feeling arose within Ling Chen's mind, making it impossible for him to sit there. In the end, he got up. "I'm going to check on Sha Sha. Give me a minute." After saying this, he quickly walked to her room. Even though Shidisika had told him not to disturb her, he simply couldn't shake off that unsettling feeling. After opening the door, Ling Chen stared at the empty room and the tightly closed window. Shidisika was nowhere to be seen. Ling Chen stared in surprise, rushing in and looking all around the room. "Sha Sha? Sha Sha! Where are you, Sha Sha? Sha Sha!" Ling Chen opened the window and could not see Shidisika's figure outside. He quickly turned and rushed into the other rooms, yelling, but he still could not find Sha Sha, nor did he hear any response from her. His worried yells caused everyone to also come over. Li Xiaoshui asked, "What happened?" "Sha Sha! Sha Sha's gone," Ling Chen said with a slightly trembling voice. "Eh? How could that be? Didn't she just go into this room? How could she have disappeared? It's impossible that she left from the window," Bei said calmly as she glanced at the window. "Otherwise, no matter how soft it was, I would have heard it. So would you. What's more, before you opened this window, it was locked from the inside, right?" "That's right. So I have no idea what happened. Sha Sha's really not here anymore, but she didn't go through the window, and there's no trace of her outside. It's like she vanished." Ling Chen tried to keep himself calm, but there was a slight trace of panic within him. This was simply too inconceivable to the point that he had no idea what to do. "Sha Sha! Where are you, Sha Sha? Respond to me, Sha Sha!" Ling Chen rushed out the door as he yelled. Chao Ying and Chao Shi quickly came to his side and said seriously, "We looked through the surveillance cameras, but we didn't see anyone walk out from here. We've also looked around the top of the house, but we didn't find anything." "Eh?" This result greatly shocked everyone. She had not walked out from here, and she could not be found. Had Shidisika really vanished? Ling Chen and Fei were completely dumbfounded. With their mental energy, even a blade of grass blowing in the wind 100 meters away could not escape their senses. If Sha Sha had left from the room, they definitely would have noticed her. Ling Chen recalled Shidisika's pale face and frightened gaze, as well as the words she had said before walking into her room. Now that he thought about it, those words were like words of farewell. Just what was going on? What had happened to Sha Sha? "Be calm. I need to be calm." Ling Chen pressed his hands against his head, forcing himself to calm down. He then quickly thought of all of the possibilities as to what had happened. At this moment, a voice sounded out in his mind. It was Qi Yue's voice. "There's no use searching. She's not here anymore. More accurately speaking, she's not on Earth anymore." "What did you say?" Ling Chen raised his head. "In order not to trouble all of you, she left Earth and should be in the mystic moon world right now. This is because that's the only place she can go to apart from Earth." What are you talking about? Trouble us? Why did she disappear if she went into the mystic moon world? What are you saying? Do you know something?" Ling Chen asked as he gnashed his teeth. "AI." Qi Yue gave a long sigh. "She didn't enter the mystic moon world using her gaming equipment. I can't explain too much to you right now, but if you want to find her, go into the mystic moon world. Right now, she's most likely at a place that won't affect other people, such as the summit of the Godchild Peak where you first met." A terrifying intruder. "Wait for me. I'm going to have a look in the game." Qi Yue's words made Ling Chen feel deeply worried, causing him to quickly speak before running to his room. After closing the door, he locked it, because he felt an extremely ominous feeling within his heart. "Look, in the game? Is Sha Sha in the game?" "But," Faye frowned and said with a sigh, "let's not think about it. Perhaps he already knows where Sha Sha went. Let's just wait for him." The lively atmosphere became quite tense and gloomy due to Sha Sha's strange disappearance and Ling Chen's response. "Don't worry, Onigu, he should be back soon." Li Xiaoshui gave a relaxed smile and comforted the worried Gu Qinghan. "At the very least, he put on the jade pendant in front of all of us. This is a joyous development. Onigu, are you really Big Brother Ling Tian's?" Xiaoqi craned her neck forwards as she asked hesitantly. Hearing this question, all of the girls turned to look at Gu Qinghan. Even though they essentially knew the answer, they wanted to hear it from her. This was especially so for Xianyuan Diawu, Xiaoqi Su'er, and Yunming Xian, who already knew her and her status. If this was true, it would be too shocking. It would be enough to shake the upper-level society of China. Gu Qinghan did not nod or shake her head. She looked at the girls who all cared for her and liked Ling Chen with a warm and grateful look as she said softly, "Perhaps I'm not qualified to be his mother because I've never borne the responsibilities of a mother and allowed him to suffer so much. Ah!" This was undoubtedly Gu Qinghan admitting to it. All of the girls' mouths widened in shock. Xianyuan Diawu's reaction was the most intense because she knew who Ling Chen's father was. "Could it be that he and you—" "That's right." Li Xiaoshui gave Xianyuan Diawu a deep look. By now, everyone present had the right to know everything about Ling Chen. She said gently, "Ling Chen is Onigu and Long Zhengyang's son." Xiaoqi sprayed out the juice that she had just drank. You, Uncle Long?" Xiaoqi stood up with a whoosh, causing her chair to fall backwards. How could this be?" Su'er's eyes widened as if she had heard the most unbelievable thing in the world. Even Yunmeng Xian was completely dumbfounded. However, she found that Fei, Yola, Mu Bingyao, Chao Ying, and Chao Shi looked quite calm, and she asked, "Why aren't you shocked about this? Did you already know?" We knew from a long time who his father was, but he has long since stopped acknowledging that person as his father, so we naturally did not acknowledge him either. However, in the end, it's impossible to deny that he is indeed his biological father," they said very calmly. "But doesn't Uncle Long only have one son? That despicable Long Tianyun. How could? Long Tianyun is Long Zhengyang's first son, while Ling Chen was his second son. However, only the internal members of the Long family know this. The reason for this is somewhat complicated, and I can't explain it clearly in a short period of time. After Ling Chen was born, Onigu gave him the name Long Tianya, but he was always referred to as only Tianya without the Long because no one acknowledged his identity, including his father and grandfather. He was a son of the Long family, but his status was less than even the children of the servants. His father and grandfather barely ever spent time with him or cared about him. From the highest to the lowest in the Long family, including the Guardian family, Xianyuan family, everyone avoided him like the plague. For 10 years, he was ignored, looked down on, mocked, and bullied by everyone. Even pets had better lives than him." Yunming Xian and the others spaced out listening to this, imagining a poor boy hiding in a corner by himself despite being born into a powerful family. As for Gu Qinghan, her face was covered with tears. To a mother, there was nothing more painful than her child living in such pain. Back then, the only thing keeping him going was Diawu. If Diawu hadn't ignored the Xianyuan family's threats, his worldview would have become twisted, and the Ling Chen we know would be a different person. It was just that when he turned 10, the year he could be reunited with Onigu, Long Tianyun pricked him with a needle infected with the Isrock disease, and because of Long Tianyun's plot, this was quickly discovered, resulting in him being isolated in a dark room. That night, people came to bury him alive 100 kilometers away. Ah! The girls all cried out. Their gazes became filled with fury, disbelief, and worry. They had never thought that Ling Chen had grown up in such an environment and had such an unfortunate fate. And the ones who had treated him so coldly and harmed him were his own relatives, the people in China with the noblest bloodline. Why did they do that? Big brother Ling Tian was just a child back then. What did he do wrong for them to treat him like this? Uncle Long's usually so kind, but it turns out that he's actually such an animal. And Long Tian Yun. Chao Qi was so furious that she could not finish her sentence, her eyes filled with tears. No wonder he hates the Long family so much. Even the kindest person would be twisted by such hatred, Yun Meng Xian muttered. Gu Qinghan's face was completely pale with tears streaming down her face, as well as hatred in her eyes. All of this was not Long Zhengyang's fault. He neglected Ling Chen for so many years because he had his own troubles. If it wasn't for Ling Chen's extraordinary luck, he would have died long ago. Long Zhengyang knows that he can't cover up the fact that he was the cause of all of this no matter what secret troubles he had, and he wants to make it up to Ling Chen. However, I don't think he'll ever be forgiven by Ling Chen in his lifetime. Oh, that's right. He found out about Ling Chen's true identity not too long ago, Li Xiaoshui said sorrowfully. And then he met me. They, who had been sitting there silently and calmly, finally spoke. After he was buried alive, he was dug up by someone looking for experimental subjects and brought to a place called Heaven. That's where we met, and altogether, it has been almost 14 years. Experimental subjects? Heaven? That's right. They casually nodded. It was an isolated place in the middle of an ocean. He and I were experimental subjects for testing the limits of the human mind and body, and we were bathed in medicinal water every day along with 1,000 other subjects. We had countless tubes stuck into our bodies, and we also had massive electrical currents passing through our bodies, stimulating every nerve and cell. We felt as if there were tens of thousands of knives cutting our bodies, tens of thousands of arrows piercing our hearts, and every second was like hell. More and more experimental subjects couldn't take it anymore and died every day, and in the end, it was just me and him. The experiments we endured became worse and worse, and we walked the boundary between life and death in immense pain every day. Don't say any more. They spoke incredibly calmly, as if she was telling a children's story. However, the girls' faces had become incredibly pale, and all of their bodies shook, their eyes trembling, feeling as if a blade had stabbed through their hearts. Gu Qinghan was lying on the table, her arms trembling and sobbing her heart out. They had always been curious as to how Ling Chen had developed his almost superhuman abilities. It turned out that it was not the result of training, but immense pain and suffering. All right, but you don't need to react like this. It's all in the past. He and I have more or less forgotten about most of it. Fei shrugged. Just as she was going to continue speaking, she suddenly froze and looked towards the courtyard. At the same time, a massive explosion sounded out. Boom! It sounded like an incredibly powerful bomb going off, causing the ground beneath their feet to tremble. The chandelier violently swayed, and everyone simultaneously stood up. Tian cried out in horror. What was that? Don't just sit there! Fei roared, waking everyone up from their stupor. This was because she clearly felt that the explosion from outside was not the result of a bomb, nor was there a burnt smell in the air. Rather, she felt an additional presence after the explosion sounded out. It was an immensely powerful and oppressive aura. This aura was even more powerful than Instructor Hell's. No, not even 100 Instructor Hells could give off such a terrifying aura. Impossible. Instructor Hell was already a peak existence in this world. How could there be a person with an even more terrifying aura? This was impossible. I'm going to take a look. None of you come out. Ing Shiola, Bing Yao, make sure you protect them, Faye said in a low voice, her body turning into a blur as she rushed out of the living room. A serious expression appeared on Faye's face, which Yola, Ing, and she rarely saw, causing their hearts to tighten. They quickly stood in front of the other women and said as calmly as they could, "Don't worry, don't panic. There might be an intruder outside. With Faye here, we won't have to worry even if there are tanks." Faye rushed outside and immediately saw the intruder that she had detected. The air was filled with sand and dust, and countless cracks had appeared on the ground. Some of these cracks extended to the swimming pool, and others extended to right in front of the living room. The longest ones even stretched into the bamboo forest. At the center of these countless cracks was a tall and muscular middle-aged man wearing a set of old, green clothing. "Who are you, and why have you come here?" Faye's expression was still and calm, and her gaze was as piercing as a blade. She wrapped her arm around her chest, and two small daggers appeared in her hands. These two blades were called Evil Phoenix and Demon Phoenix. They were light as paper, peerlessly sharp, and covered with poison that could instantly kill anyone. The man was about 2 meters tall and had ordinary looks. He had a hint of savageness on his face and had two jet black eyes. There was a sharp and thick horn-like thing on his head, making him look like there was a strange hat on his head. No matter if it was his arms or legs, they were at least 3 times as thick as a normal human's. His muscles seemed to be on the verge of bursting, and his skin was a shocking metallic color. Apart from his old green clothes, there was not a single thing on his body, and there was not a weapon or means of transport around him. What's more, the cracks began beneath his feet. It was as if he had caused this from falling from a great height. Upon realizing this, Faye felt greatly shocked. From the state of the cracks, he must have fallen from an absurd height. And yet, this person looked completely unharmed. "Ha ha!" The tall man gave a low laugh. However, his face remained just as stiff when he laughed, and a smile didn't appear on his face. He glanced past Faye into the living room behind her, as he said in an incredibly low and booming voice, "Looks like the godchild isn't here anymore. It'll be best for King to take care of her himself." After speaking in his low, rumbling voice, the tall man turned around and walked away. The ground lightly trembled with every step he took, and after taking 10 steps, his feet suddenly left the ground, and he started to float higher and higher. The man was evidently leaving. Even though Faye had no idea who this terrifying man was, or why he had come, she did not stop him, nor did she dare to stop him. Instead, she released a sigh of relief. It wasn't just her here. There were many girls who could not protect themselves at all, and if this man wanted to do something, with his terrifying aura, even Faye did not have the confidence to stop him. When this man started floating, Faye became completely shocked. He was flying? What was going on? Was this some sort of special Esper ability? As Faye watched on in shock, an incredibly soft voice blew through the air. "Rahu, it's so rare for you to come to Earth. It's too much of a pity for you to leave without doing anything." This voice caused Faye to feel quite surprised because this was Qi Yue's voice. She knew that no one apart from Qi Yue was able to speak with such a seductive and enchanting voice. As the voice sounded out, an incredibly alluring figure appeared in the air, calmly smiling as it looked at Rahu. It was Qi Yue. The tall man paused and turned to look at Qi Yue. "You? Why are you here? I'm not sure if the mad scientist told you before his death, but after you left last time, King suddenly found out that the godchild disappeared, so the Shura plan has been cancelled. I know about this already, though I just found out," Qi Yue said as she gave a devastating smile. But why are you not helping Wan Chong with the Burning Heavens plan, and why have you come to Earth? Are you looking for the missing godchild? That's right. Rahu nodded. But the godchild isn't here anymore, so she can only be in the mystic moon world. I'm sure she has fallen into King's hands already. So you're going to come for nothing and leave empty-handed? Qi Yue said, as she smiled and narrowed her eyes. The tall man floating in the air had appeared from nowhere, and now Qi Yue had suddenly appeared in the air, causing Fei to feel completely dumbfounded. It seemed as if they knew each other, but what they were talking about left Fei completely confused, unable to make heads or tails of their discussion. However, she felt a deeply unsettling feeling growing in her heart. I was not given any other missions, Rahu replied. You didn't have any just then, but you have one now. Qi Yue turned to look at Fei and the living room behind her as she said, even though the godchild isn't here anymore, she was here the entire time while she was missing, and she has good a relationship with everyone here. The godchild having such ties isn't good. It might even affect her development and growth in the future and will affect the godchild plan. As such, it's best to help the godchild sever these ties. Before you leave, just use a tiny part of your power to get rid of them all. Even though they're all women, in the Earth Flame plan and Galwa plan, did you show any mercy to the women out of the billions of people you destroyed? Fei, even though she could not understand what they were talking about, she clearly understood Qi Yue's intent. She was telling this person, who was called Rahu, to kill all of them. Rahu looked down and calmly glanced at Fei before nodding. That sounds reasonable. Qi Yue, you? Fei gnashed her teeth, her eyes filled with flames of fury. I'm sure you want to ask me just who I am, what we want, and what we were talking about, right? Qi Yue said as she smiled. But it's a pity that you won't have a chance to know the answers to those questions because you're about to vanish from the earth. But before that, I can help you with something. As Qi Yue spoke, she stretched out her white hand, spreading it out towards Fei. Red, yellow, and blue lights suddenly flashed on Fei's fingers, following which the 3 lachesis rings appeared on her fingers. Lachesis? How? Seeing the lachesis, Fei felt completely dumbfounded because this was evidently Earth, while the lachesis was something that she had obtained in the game. Your shocked expression is not bad at all, Qi Yue's voice sounded in Fei's ears. For a godly item like the lachesis, once it chooses a master, it will be imprinted on its master's soul. No matter where its master goes, it will follow. You can summon the lachesis anywhere and it will appear, but this is not limited to the mystic moon world. It seemed that even you didn't know about this. That's fine though. After all, this would be too shocking to you Earthlings. Fei, you're about to disappear, so if the lachesis disappeared with you, it would be too much of a waste. As such, I'll be the lachesis master for you in the future. And in your dreams. Fei pressed her fingers on the 3 lachesis rings. Right now, I'm the lachesis master, and without my permission, it won't listen to anyone else's orders, nor can it be taken away by anyone else. Oh, really? Qi Yue beautifully smiled. The mad scientist, who was killed by you guys, could do so why can't I? As she spoke, Qi Yue made a grabbing motion, and the 3 lachesis rings on Fei's fingers simultaneously rose up and flew in front of Qi Yue as Fei watched on, her pupils contracting. Qi Yue then extended her hand and grabbed them. Fei stared at her bare fingers. In the mystic moon world, no matter how much strength she used, she could not take off the 3 lachesis rings, and the description said that it could never be taken off once it had chosen a master unless the master died. However, Fei had just watched the lachesis leave her and fall into Qi Yue's hands. Fei had no idea how this had happened. At this moment, she was filled with billowing killing intent as she looked up at Qi Yue and said in a low voice, Qi Yue, I should have killed you when I first saw you. It's a pity that you wouldn't have been able to kill me even if you had really tried. Well then, do your best to struggle, and try to struggle for as long as possible. Ha ha ha. Qi Yue laughed as she slowly vanished along with the lachesis. Boom! Rahu landed on the ground again, his tall and powerful body looking like an indestructible human tank. The formless aura he gave off made Faye feel incredibly suffocated. Despite there being a half-a-meter height difference between them, they felt as if there was an incredibly tall mountain in front of her. Faye slowly raised her hands, putting up a stance that would allow her to instantly unleash a fatal attack. An evil phoenix and demon phoenix in her hands glinted with a cold light. You want to resist? Rahu was expressionless and spoke stiffly. He had destroyed billions of beings, and he no longer felt anything after killing people. He asked this question because he felt a sharp aura from this woman in front of him. The aura proved that she had reached a realm that normal humans would never be able to reach. You're seeking death! Faye spoke out those 3 words in a low voice, and before the sound of the word death had disappeared, she vanished, replaced by an icy gale. Faye appeared at Rahu's left side in an instant, a speed that made it impossible to see Faye with the naked eye, a speed that was impossible for humans to achieve. Faye's body twisted as the evil phoenix in her right hand pierced into Rahu's temple, the demon phoenix in her left hand stabbing into the artery in his left hand. Ping! She had clearly stabbed him, but Faye felt as if her daggers had pierced into an incredibly tough steel board. The sound of her daggers hitting Rahu also resulted in a metallic colliding sound to ring. Under the massive impact, evil phoenix flew out from her right hand, as did the demon phoenix from her left hand, almost piercing into her own hand. A speed that exceeds the limits of humans, not bad. However, disappear, Rahu said calmly, as he casually swung out his heavy left arm. Faye instantly felt boundless power sweeping towards her, and she used all of her strength to leap backwards. Boom! Rahu had only casually swung his arm, but it had resulted in a massive explosion, which cracked the earth and filled the air with sand and dust. The villa violently swayed, looking as if it could crumble at any moment. Faye, who had leapt backwards, was sent flying, and she was buried amidst the sand and dust.